he's Stanley Tucci does like the little lisp a lot of the time, like, oh honey, that's not how it goes.
No, you're thinking
like he wasn't doing that, right?
Yeah, you're thinking of his character in The Devil Wears Prada. No, he's like some like deviant pervert.
I don't know anything about that movie, Josiah, but you're gonna need some gas fitters.
See,
That's
perfect.
That's right.
I don't know what a gas fitter is.
Listen, let's just go with it.
Are we live, by the way?
We're doing it live.
I'm live.
Hey, I don't like this guy Trump.
Not with that mustache.
He said he's bringing jobs.
Fucking
He's
love Trump.
making us union jobs harder. You know, eh?
I like Clinton.
With that,
I like
with
the
that
trade deals.
With that mustache, you well, you should say like, I love Clinton, not Bill, not Bill. Just
Hillary.
only Hillary.
I didn't vote for Bill. I voted for Hillary.
Oh God.
We need a Dan Quayle voter who voted for Hillary Clinton.
You know, my Dan Quayle references go back only to what was that Candace Bergen TV show in the the late 80s, early Murphy Brown. Murphy Brown.
Yeah.
I never watched Murphy Brown.
Yeah, because they had a strong woman. You don't like that.
I only watch Blue's Clues.
No.
And Bob the Builder. Have you seen the Bob the Builder meme where he's a communist building like the Berlin Wall?
No, I didn't
go ahead and look that up next time, Josiah. Just give you some toilet watching.
I appreciate that. Actually, my toilet watching is Peace Goes Hour. I catch up on all the. It's either Peace Goes Hour or it's Hutch. Okay. Usually, IRI is not on when I'm on the toilet, so
why?
that includes him.
Did you feel like a little embarrassed when he looks you in the eye?
No, I actually it's the opposite feeling. It's more arousal at that point. So it's its own thing. Hutch is like, yeah, I can sympathize. All right, listen.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Live and Learn. I am back. I am still suffering from a persistent cough. I believe I'm immunocompromised at this point. Thank God I've got government-funded health care. Oh, wait! I don't, because of the government shutdown, which we're going to talk about, obviously.
Wait,
I'm
would
joined
you
by...
have that, though?
Say what?
Do you otherwise have, like, Medicaid?
No, I'm just kidding. No.
Okay.
No.
I actually have Medicaid.
Yeah. Oh, do you really? Oh, that's... I shouldn't make light of that then. That's,
No, it's
No one
fine.
should have health care.
That's insensitive. You gotta walk for a living, you know what I'm saying? You just spin that propeller around, you know, make your own health care. All right, so I'm joined by the Soy Pill, who is probably the least fit person on this show, but we're making progress with him. He's slowly making his daily gains. We've got I'm Really Important, who is the lead, the preeminent liberal TikTok debater. Okay, he's lapping Dean Withers and the other guy, Parker. Did I get that right? Parker
has a
Don't
job.
forget
Parker.
Harry Sisson.
Say what?
Don't forget Harry Sisson. Does
Is he
he
on
do the
TikTok?
debates as well or no?
No, he quit. He quit debating since he got his little scandal with the
He's too
ladies.
busy macking on honeys
Wait,
right
was
now.
that the one?
He had too many girlfriends. I didn't
Was
like
that
it.
the one where it's like, damn, that ass is fat? Is that the
Yep.
scandal? Okay, all right. Well, speaking of that ass is fat, we've got Hutch here. No, that was Soy Pill.
That was Soy Pill.
Soy Pill.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was Hutch salivating over the Soy Pill.
We need
But-
to have like a dedicated time each week where we just talk about Soy Pill's bulbous ass. Like every week is what I'm saying.
Gonna give me body dysmorphia, dude.
No, listen, we can call it birthday time because he's got that cake with him. So we got.
I was
Hutch.
talking about your ass with my fiance this weekend. Like that came up in a conversation.
She was the one who.
This feels
She
so
was the one
not
who
even
broached
kidding,
it.
man. I don't like this.
She was the one who broached it. That was the other thing too. She was like, "So what's your co-host with the fat ass?" And you're like, "You have to narrow that one down."
No, I brought it up because
You
I
did?
fucking legit think about it just when I'm walking around like out in the world.
Okay, wait. I do have to say something. My girlfriend's roommate said this. She said, "That ass demands attention," and that line has been stuck in my head for quite a while.
I agree.
Wait, your girlfriend's roommate said that
Yeah,
to your girlfriend?
yeah,
Interesting.
You have a girlfriend?
yeah.
The mustache really matches your like exaggerated accent, I think.
Yeah,
Like,
thanks,
it
man.
really
Doesn't he look like
not
he
the
has the
emo
Dunkin' Donuts
glasses.
top? Doesn't he look like a construction manager?
But no, wait a minute. Not with the emo glasses. He needs a hat and fucking like thin 70s style aviators or whatever, like the aviator style.
Oh, wait, let me try.
Glasses.
Hang on. Give me one sec.
Yeah, where are your pit vipers, bro?
What the hell is a pit viper? I'm not cultured
You don't
enough
know
for
pit
that.
vipers?
No, is that a brand of
Those
glasses?
are
Oh,
those
no,
like
these aren't going to work. One sec.
reflective ones.
Let's see.
You can tell me, though.
before we
I don't know where
start,
mine
you
are.
guys should really make an effort to see
I think it looks like a hipster, I think.
one battle
That's
after
better.
another.
That's better right there. That right there. That's much more in character.
The little foggy.
I was going to say, Hutch, I have to watch that for my movie podcast, and I've heard it's anti-ice propaganda. Is that true?
I don't want to tell you anything about it, but like it's so good, especially if you're. I mean, it's very like poignant. It's very like apt for the moment, and I think
does it like break your suspension of disbelief that Leonardo DiCaprio isn't married to a 25-year-old?
A little bit, yeah. But this might be his best role. Like he's fucking brilliant. He's really, really good.
Okay.
The only thing I've seen about it is apparently Ben Shapiro's bitching. Like I saw a screen grab of his like movie review, and it's talking about how it's anti-ice propaganda, woke anti-ice propaganda. So,
I mean, it's kind of anti like far lefty, like a little bit, as well. But yeah.
I like Benicio del Toro. He was a working man.
Oh, he's fantastic in this movie. Yeah.
I liked him in he did one. Benicio del Toro did one like 22 years ago with Tommy Lee Jones, and I'm blanking on the name of it.
The Hunted.
The Hunted. That is a
underappreciated film. It got reviewed poorly, but I like that movie.
You know what else did? The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I'll die on that hill. What?
I like that one.
Pretty bad.
What? No,
Josiah, I'm with
you.
you. That is a special place in my heart. I used to watch it on like Fox or whatever, with all the commercial breaks when I was a kid. When I was sick, it would always be on TV, and I love that movie.
You really didn't like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? Sean Connery's last role?
No, it's horrible.
I will die on that hill that was an excellent. Two big movies came out that year, I think side by side, as far as like
Rise of Skywalker and the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Listen, I'll die on the hill of Rise of Skywalker too, but that was 16 years later. Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl came out that year too, and I preferred League to Pirates.
Okay, wait. Now I gotta break with you. That's
time,
ridiculous.
I preferred it at the time. Over the years, I have since come to appreciate Black Pearl more. So, anyway. All right, you watch a bunch of movies, man. You live out in Cali. I feel like you should be a pop culture guru.
I cannot sit through a 3-hour movie. I just can't do it, man.
It's 90 minutes. That should help.
He just watches election nights on repeat that Democrats won. I do that sometimes,
I can watch
by the way.
Senate. I can watch the Senate for hours and hours and hours, but I cannot watch a movie.
No, that's the thing.
Guys, wait,
I can't sit and watch this.
Wait, guys, we have a big day coming up in 2 days here. Like who is like booked time to cover this? None of you even know what I'm talking about.
Wait. I'll figure it the fuck out. Let's see.
Don't Google it. What are you doing?
No, I'm not going to Google. Let's see. You said 3 days? That's
2
Thursday,
days on Wednesday.
That's the 8th. That's October 8th.
Yep.
The Supreme Court?
Nope.
They're doing some oral arguments, actually.
I don't know. It's House oversight, bro. They subpoenaed the CEOs of Twitch, Reddit, Discord, and Steam to go testify in front of Congress live. And
you're horny about Hassan Piker.
No, hang on. We already talked about this. I'm not like horny for any Twitch streamer to be targeted by the government.
Oh, we did talk about this.
But it's going to be fucking insane. Like they're going to show, clips of Hassan and other people saying like really crazy shit.
Is Destiny's friend Dan gonna be like the council, like
I don't know. You'd have to ask
for the Democrats?
Chief counsel.
Nobody obsesses quite like him, but that day is gonna be fucking crazy. Just so you guys know.
I think it'll be fun, and by fun I mean depressing, because then everyone's gonna start yelling at each other. And why can't we just be happy and friends for once in this country? That was my Wick impression.
Wait, did you say House oversight or Senate?
House oversight.
Wait. I have to defend Wick. Wick's my buddy. I got to defend Wick against Pisco. Wick is not a lame centrist. He just thinks that we don't need to escalate violence, but he will absolutely lock hands with us in front of Twitch headquarters if they try to ban Hassan. Okay, so we can all go out.
Hell yeah.
Somebody in my stream asked why they asked the Gabe Newell. Gabe Newell, is that his name? Fuck.
Because the Steam games are
because
potentially too political. The ones that the shooter played. TF2 is teaching people how to kill political advocates.
What's TF2?
That's why he got. That's why he got invited, because the guy who shot Kirk had like 10,000 hours played in Rust or something like that.
Mm-hmm. He also drank water, so the Nestle CEO is going. And yeah,
I was gonna say this all stems from the shooting of Charlie Kirk, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Which is ancient news now. So it's like nobody's even paying attention to that hearing at all.
Last week, I forgot to bring it up. I was like, holy shit, we made it through the whole podcast and we didn't mention it. We didn't mention it once. And then someone sent me that Google Trend graph. I don't know if you want to bring that up, Josiah, but it's been, what, almost a month. Like 0 people are looking for this, and you 100% called it. Like 100% props to you. I was like, I don't know, you're being optimistic. You called it so hard, like everyone just fucking forgot. Like
aliens could land on Earth, a Terminator could come from the future, and people would be over it in 2 weeks. It's just the news cycle.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, in fairness, it's kind of an easy thing to call that eventually people are going to stop talking about something.
Sure.
They talked about the fall of Rome.
Everyone was freaking out, like, this is the right's vendetta. They will never be stopped. And I was like, they're going to fucking forget. And we did. We forgot.
I want to say, I'm a Rob Knorr viewer, and he had a little bit of a freak out. He was like, Sam Hyde called it. Trump, you had 2 weeks to do something, to get after these people, and then you were going to lose interest. What the fuck happened? And so he's mad at Trump for not like instituting authoritarian government in 2 weeks.
Martial
Pretty
law.
great.
That's the same with I don't know if you guys know who Curtis Yarvin is, who's like kind of the mastermind behind the J.D. Vance, Peter Thiel, Dark Enlightenment. But he's talking about how he might want to flee the country now because they're not being authoritarian enough. And it's like, well, you're leaving room open for retribution against us. So, this is scary. Like, you're not being fascist enough.
Meanwhile, Trump is like calling the banners of the various different Republican states to try to evade a judicial order to institute martial law in a place that doesn't want it, where nothing is happening.
Now I got this fucking mental image in my head of like Greg Abbott as Theoden, like, if Gondor calls, Rohan will come to his aid.
He's a herald of woe.
They keep describing Portland like it's a war zone, and whenever I look at streams, it's literally like 15 people. It's like 15 like undergrads wearing masks or whatever. And some guy dressed up in a frog costume. Did you see the footage of the guy?
Was he like standing across from federal agents or whatever in that frog
He was
costume?
like standing like right next to him, and a cop comes up and sprays like pepper spray like in the frog's butthole, which I guess serves as like the air, because I think that's where the air filter is. And so the cop was like shooting this. It's the most like absurd
frog
imagery.
Pepper spray is the second. I just start FO or FR, and that's the second thing that came up. Let's take a look at this.
Frog around and find out.
That's hilarious.
Oh damn!
All right, here we go.
God, I love this. I mean, only in America.
Oh no! Wait, that's probably maybe his vent hole is in there.
That's the vent
hole.
That's
what he said.
That's what I
said.
Gentlemen, can we salute our
I wasn't listening.
on the front lines of the Oregon war zone? That's insane. Look how dangerous that is.
Dude, like, what threat is the frog?
Kill him?
Fucking Kermit.
Yeah, what threat is that guy?
Well, he's out there.
It's a frog. What's it gonna do? Pepe.
This really does help
attack
with
on Pepe.
the messaging, right? Like the idea that, sure, we can like clutch our pearls and cry out against the fascism, and we should, but we should also make fun of them. And how dumb and lame do you look when you're sending people to what you call a war zone and you're fighting a big cartoon frog? Like,
Oh God! With a bandana. That's a blue bandana too.
I'm hoping Newsom's press office like has fun with this shit. Like this is ripe for memery.
There's nothing that tells you that you're a lib wine mom than at this point freaking out about Governor Newsom's Twitter.
I didn't say freaking out. I said I'm excited to see what happens. And you crawling from
I like
your
it too.
windowless
I like
van,
it too. Hey, I like it too.
10 yards from a school zone. Okay, listen. You
hey, whatever. Oh, speaking of communist news, Denims followed me today on Twitter, so that's huge for me and my communist. Denims, the streamer Denims.
Oh my
she
goodness.
followed me, and so now we're
speaking of
friends. And
women that followed our Twitter, Rachel Wilson followed me on Twitter.
Whoa, Rachel Wilson?
Yeah.
Do you think that she's like looking for? Never mind.
I saw some of that debate. That was you went fucking scorched earth. Soy Pill? Do you usually
I burned the bridge because he was being so good faith before, and then I started trolling. So like he'll just never talk to me again. Even though, so I agreed to that debate. Yeah, he did. He got really upset. But no, I agreed to that before anyone else had. So I was like, okay, this sounds like a fun topic. And then he became part of it. And I was like, well, I don't want to back out. Like I feel bad to the host. And so that was, someone I don't enjoy speaking to. But I was like, well, if you're just gonna ignore my arguments for 2.5 hours, like I'm gonna crash out on you at the end here. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw some clips. I did not see my understanding is it was like a full 4-hour fucking gauntlet. Yeah, that's too bad. And then like he brought up like his house versus your apartment. Like I was surprised at how that was. I've been around Andrew one time, and that was at Tim Pool. And by the way, I was not paid for my appearance on Tim Pool. Just want to put that out there.
I want to disclose that as well. I was not paid a single dime.
So
did you ask to be paid? That was the accusation.
No,
I didn't ask.
No, and as a matter of fact, I got thinking about it because Wick DM'd me. He's like, "Hey, were you paid to go on Tim Pool?" And I'm like, "No." And I'm like, he sent me the link and something about like how even travel is compensated. And I'm like, I don't remember that. Like I rented a car. I paid for my own flight, paid for my hotel, rented.
They paid for my tickets, bro.
Yeah,
you got paid for your tickets.
I didn't get paid. No money transacted hands. They paid for my tickets.
I'm sorry, they paid for your tickets.
Yeah,
and they didn't pay for mine. Fuck you.
What do you think
this is? I got compensated.
What do you think this is, Josiah?
Damn,
Come on.
okay.
And you know what else? They gave me pizza after the show. It wasn't good, but it's West Virginia.
They did offer subs. It was Myron and Andrew, but I had to make it back to Charlotte. So I literally was like, Luke, we got to fuck off. And
when you say subs, you mean subs like the sandwiches?
Correct.
We don't call them subs here. We call them grinders.
Also, they did not offer Grinder.
Did you see Mike Johnson might have been on Grinder? Now, I don't know that to be true, but that's you know the I Have It girl, the news girls, the women,
Welsh and everybody.
I've had it.
Yeah.
Anyway, their entire model is just calling Republicans gay all the time, and I'm really here for it. But apparently, there was some rumor that Grindr was the big scandal with Mike Johnson.
Well, Mike Johnson, I mean, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised because he's like, he and his son monitor each other's porn intake or whatever. So like,
yeah.
Technically, they monitor each other's internet activity to prevent them from looking at pornography.
Oh,
like they don't watch porn and then
when you put it that way, that makes it marginally less creepy.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've got a lot to talk about. There's a government shutdown.
No, there is.
We are in day 6 of that government shutdown. Let's start with IRI. IRI, were you surprised, A, that the shutdown happened, and B, that it's lasted as long as it has?
No, listen, I've always seen that giant bulge in Charles Schumer's pants, so I knew exactly what we were dealing with here. And I think he won a lot of fans this last week, showing that Big Dick Charles stepped up and was willing to shut it all down. Now, what I'll say is the Republicans don't need a single goddamn Democratic Party vote. They could change the rules of the Senate from 60 votes for a budget bill down to 51 any day, any minute, and then they could move on without us. But they choose to want Democratic votes, so therefore they should be talking to the Democrats to negotiate to come up with a bipartisan bill. Otherwise, go nuclear, drop the number of votes needed, and let's move on.
Well, real quick, let's hear from Chuck Schumer. This was just breaking.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time in terms of going.
I was about to make a joke about IRI being hard because it's C-SPAN, but
well, right now Chuck Schumer's looking down at his bulge for inspiration. Glasses.
This show needs to become more sexual. I will say I agree with IRI on the following precedent. If anyone tries to push you on like who's to blame, what should be clear is if you want Democratic votes, you should negotiate with Democrats. That's what Biden did. All of those near misses that we had in his term were because like the Republicans reneged on a previous negotiation that the Democrats had anticipated and had like done ahead of time, and then like they like because Trump says something or Elon says something, all of a sudden like the rug falls under them. So that precedent should be upheld. If you want Democratic votes, you need to negotiate with Democrats. And so yes, this time they're maintaining funding in a way that like might have been something that the Democrats would have been pushing for under Biden. But the conditions have changed. We have this incoming healthcare hike in prices, which, like I said earlier, and which IRA pointed out, I think is beautifully timed. And then number two, the precedent should be, if you want Democratic votes, the Democrats need to be involved in the negotiations. That was what was happening during Biden's administration. It's what should be happening now.
I mean, well, anybody got anything to say to Pisco's mustache? I mean, his Pisco?
No,
you guys
I mean,
are all
that,
stunned.
That obviously was the precedent. And if you watched it, did you guys watch Mike Johnson's press conference this morning?
Dude, he was fucking nervous.
It was
hell.
It was really bad, like really bad. At one point, he was like, "We were gonna come up with a healthcare plan, but it's hard to build consensus." Like, it was really like really. I mean, you could tell he was deflated as well. Across every poll that I've seen, and the WAPO poll, I think, is the most like the most extreme poll that I've seen on this topic. But a plurality of Americans are blaming the Republican Party for this shutdown. They are losing, just objectively, they are losing the messaging war on this one. Democrats have leverage right now. They're actually using it. And dare I say, like, I'm pretty happy with the party right now. Like, within a realistic framework, I want to put the question to you guys. What could congressional Democrats be doing like better right now?
I think they need to be spamming it harder than they already are. And like, I was as people call this cringe, but I don't know if you guys saw the TikTok with the kiddies, like kiddies explain government shutdown, and everyone's like, "Oh, look at my party, it's so cooked." And I'm like, yo, I watch people younger than me doom scroll. This is what they're watching all day, and every single one of those just got a kiddie shutdown video and are like, "Oh, it's the Republicans' fault," because that was really, really good, concise. Brevity was perfect. Like, they just need to be doing more of that, which is like, hey, every single day, it's, hey, day 7 of Republicans fucking over your country. Like, they need to keep doing that more.
They did.
I don't think it was that good because Ken Klippenstein bitched about it. Okay, so I'm not entirely sure.
They did a similar meme video today where it was like a video game, like some kind of like farming simulator video game kind of footage playing in the background while the VO was explaining the tariffs, like the situation with the tariffs and the soybeans.
Like satisfying video game footage over like an explanation.
So are you saying it's time for Big Dick Chuck or whatever we're calling him to go to Twitch and be a Twitch streamer for the shutdown?
I'm saying
that would be a disaster. That would be a complete disaster.
I'm saying that, like, as critically important as it is to critique your own party, you should also praise them when they're doing well. And right now, like, they're handling this shutdown about as well as you could possibly handle it. Like, how could it be going better?
I'll say no. I'm with Soy Pill. I wish they would be. So the meme video was lost on me. I didn't understand like the cat thing because is that a TikTok trend or is that like okay?
I get all these ones that are like mental disorders explained by cats. So like if you didn't know what BPD was, there's a cat one of that.
It's for like ADD boom, like Zoomers. Like, that's the point of it.
Well, so I mean, that sounds like that was objectively a good thing to do. I know Bernie and AOC about a week ago, they kind of had a walk and talk, West Wing style thing outside of the Capitol building. I thought that was really effective. That got a shit ton of views as well. So that's good. I would just say, as a general rule, I'm always nervous when it comes to Democratic messaging because we have such a media disadvantage. And Trump usually has an advantage with respect to messaging in terms of shaping the narrative. Now, I agree the polling's pretty consistent that I think a margin of like 5 to 9 points, Trump and the Republicans are being blamed more for the shutdown. But I'm with Soy Pill. Like, instinctively, I just want to see them do what they're doing now, just more of it, and not just assume that momentum will maintain. But other than that, no, I don't have any like substantive complaints about what they're doing.
Well, and the best part hasn't even come yet because those notices are just starting to trickle out now about people's health insurance premiums going up. And once those start really rolling out, you're going to see story after story of how much people's health insurance is going up. And Democrats are timing things quite well with that.
Aren't they projecting an average of like 15 to 20% increase on people's premiums or something like that? It's like not a small amount.
75%.
75%.
Yeah.
It's like, well, up to 75%.
For ACA.
Like, for ACA recipients, but for everybody else, their premiums are going to go up as well.
Yes. Everybody's.
And I don't know.
Now,
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Soy.
Well, I was going to say, have you guys also seen they're refusing to confirm the House member? What's her name?
Yeah,
Grijalva? I don't know how to pronounce it, but like
Grijalva.
from Arizona.
Grijalva, yeah. And so this
Yep.
is like the person that would be able to break the vote on the Epstein. Forcing the Epstein list, and they're just not going to confirm her. Do you think they're going to hold a Merrick Garland or like?
No, I think they will eventually, but so that's why they keep gaveling out of session. Virginia Fox, that old person, she's awful. She's
Say it, Josiah.
No,
say it.
She's not a nice person. She did what a Republican did last week, gavelled out early, like refused to take a point of order, and this time I think it was from Jim McGovern. So what happens is when the House joins for these pro forma sessions, these like very temporary things, you can still swear in newly elected people. Mike Johnson did it twice just this year for newly elected Republicans during pro forma sessions. Hey, we'll come back in, we'll swear you in, pad our majority. They're refusing to do it for her while denying at the same time he gets so outraged. No, it has nothing to do with the Epstein files. As soon as we're back in, of course, we'll swear her in. And, she fought a hell of a campaign, all these things. But yes, it's very obvious to try to duck that discharge petition that Thomas Massie has 218 signatures. I think they're banking on, the public and private threats to like Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're hoping that by the time they swear Grijalva in, that they will have taken away one of the Republicans and be back down to 217. But it doesn't look like that's happening.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ira.
I was going to say, what do you guys think about the Republicans' messaging, though? Because they're just lying their ass off about this, saying Democrats are fighting for health care for undocumented people. And it's a tough thing to argue against. So I'm curious what you guys think about that.
It's not working. People aren't buying it. The polls show it. And under everyone who is trying to post that, there's just easy debunks on what they're lying about, which is that the Democrats somehow want to extend eligibility for these programs to people who are here illegally or without status or whatever. And yeah, that's just not true. And I don't think it's resonated. It's kind of like the dog cried wolf. Oh my God.
Boy who cried
wolf. The boy.
It's like the dog who cried boy.
It's the dog who my brain doesn't work. This mustache must have affected my my brain. But anyway, they use illegal immigration on literally every single issue, whether it pertains to the big beautiful bill, illegal immigration, whether it pertains to anything where there's the government involved in any respect, even the deployment of the military. It's all about illegal immigrants. So at this point, it's getting a little tired. I'm not saying that it'll never be utilized again, but especially when Trump is underwater himself on immigration by, I think, the average at least 5-6 points, which was once his strongest issue. I don't think it's working.
We should clarify for people in the audience, just in case you guys are arguing with your MAGA, coworkers or family or whatever, about 0.4% of total Medicaid spending is dedicated to something called emergency Medicaid spending. And what this means is that hospitals can bill the government, they can bill Medicaid for when people show up to the emergency room and they stabilize that patient. Like we have laws in the United States that anybody who shows up to the emergency room, the hospital is required to stabilize that patient. Like if you can just imagine how ridiculous it would be if somebody was unconscious and, the hospital would be like, well, we can't ask him if he has Medicaid or, health insurance, or, we can't ask him if he has papers to be in the country. And, what they decided 40 years ago under Ronald Reagan was that we could establish this thing called emergency Medicaid spending. And if that didn't happen, the hospitals couldn't be compensated for stabilizing these patients, they would just raise their prices to recoup those losses. So, and you would be paying even more in increased costs than you would be for the tax money that's set aside for this. And that's the only thing that illegal immigrants can qualify for. They obviously do not qualify for the broader program. Yeah.
What sucks is the Republican messaging is on two fronts too. There's the one where they're saying, look at this provision in this bill that clearly is, what was it, an amendment for illegal, or aliens or something like that. And you're looking, or for alien residents or something like that. And you look in, and every single category of alien residents is legal residents, asylum seekers, or absolutely none of this is illegal immigrants. So they're saying that this is the provision. But then if they were to point at that, and I think I saw Elizabeth Warren say this once, but I think Democrats, especially if they try to point this one out more, is to point out what you're saying is, do you think that if someone gets in a car crash and is unconscious, regardless of their status, they should just not treat them like, or if an illegal immigrant is like bleeding out, they should let them die.
Yeah,
like they need to get Republicans to say yes to that on media, because they just look how ghoulish they are.
It says something that even Carolyn Levitt was asked that question outside the White House. I think it was on Friday, and she said the same. Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that. So it says something that this administration, which is like unprecedentedly ghoulish, even they are not fully prepared at the moment to say in front of a camera and a microphone that, yeah, let illegal aliens bleed out.
And it affects also in the way that Hutch described, I think, very eloquent. That's one of the reasons why we're in favor of universal health care of some kind, because of the collective action problem, because the costs ultimately are going to be paid by all of us, either through premiums or through taxes in some respects, so there's no getting around it. But even this like provision of care thing, it's one of the reasons why like due process and these kinds of emergency situations, and when you're trying to institute a system where there's going to be like an ex ante before you give care determination by hospitals as to your legal status, like that is just asking for more death and destruction. The same thing with like due process, right? Like if we need to determine whether or not you're legally here before you get access to due process, you're kind of like making it dangerous for everybody, because then someone who's not given due process to even determine whether they're legal could be just thrown to El Salvador. And likewise here, someone who just isn't able to provide, I guess, their birth certificate while they're bleeding out of their like stump leg or something isn't going to get cared. It's just a recipe for disaster. On paper, it sounds like we should. Yeah,
there's an easy solution to this, and it is when someone comes into this country, we just tattoo a number onto their arm so that we can identify whether or not they're not from the country. So you can just see that.
It's not funny to joke about the Holocaust, son.
Look, I'm Jewish. I'm the only one who can joke about the Holocaust, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss.
The whole thing is obviously just so wildly dishonest and massively distorted by Republicans right now, because that 0.4% that I mentioned, right? It's again 0.4% of total Medicaid spending is spent on emergency Medicaid, and a fraction of that is illegal immigrants. So it's like it could be like 0.1 or 0.09 or something like that. It's just such a tiny sliver of the entire Medicaid program.
It's not zero though, Hutch. It's not zero.
It's not. Yeah.
I think I read it's like
owned.
$200 million a year or something. It's really a drop in the bucket, but it is illegal to use federal dollars for Medicaid, and undocumented immigrants cannot sign up for health insurance on the ACA, so they can't take advantage of the subsidies. So the Republicans are just full of shit when they say that Democrats are fighting for undocumented people to get health care.
Doge investigated this stuff for months, and they could not present a single.
That's a great
point.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
They had the full weight of the federal government. They had full access to all of these systems, all these databases, and they scoured these databases, and they could not find a single example of one singular illegal immigrant who was on the rolls for Medicaid. Like,
I found a bunch of 300-year-olds though.
True. Those are the illegals.
True.
I will know. I don't think it'll matter for these debates, but one thing that is, I would say, the silver lining to the incoming authoritarian state and the unitary executive theory is now I think it's less tenable in an argument with a MAGA person, though they might have no shame, like the people I debated the other day, to say like, oh, it's the deep state. Oh, we didn't have, like, you guys control everything. You control all the information. So if there was evidence now of some like underlying misconduct during the 2016 election or the 2020 election or something, surely you would now have access to that information that you could release. And I think that even though it's maybe a lost cause sometimes for these debates with MAGA people, I think that is a useful thing to have in your arsenal, and it's a silver lining.
So speaking of that debate, by the way, I should point out, I watched that debate too, Pisco, and you caused that guy to almost have like a nervous fucking breakdown at the beginning. The one like you were, did you see that debate?
He was shaking or something. The other guy's like, wow. I'm retarded at the end of it. He said, and I quote, I'm retarded. I wasn't prepared for this discussion. Like I shouldn't, I understand if you're disappointed in me. Like, but I couldn't untwist the knife because it just is so disgraceful that you would even agree to have this conversation on WIC TV. We were struggling. Some people backed out who were like more prepared debaters or whatever. Rob Norr certainly doesn't want a discussion because it just, at this point, it's so untenable to defend the corruption. Other people have blocked me too now. I think Rob won't debate me anymore. Andrew Wilson won't debate me. Jack Posobiec just blocked me. Will Chamberlain just blocked me. So they're not interested in debating anymore.
Dude, fuck Will Chamberlain. Yeah. Fuck that guy. I mean, fuck Jack Posobiec too. But damn, you're getting blacklisted by everybody.
Yeah. And I'm just doing my patriotic duty, man.
Has Tim blacklisted?
No. Me and Tim are good.
friends.
I hope. Yeah, I hope.
Friends, one might say.
But the thing I like about Tim is that at least he does invite and have these panels on. I mean, these other guys don't even do that. And Will Chamberlain, when he came on, it had to be a 20-minute debate between us, and the rest was audience participation. And like he was like, you need to donate 10,000 of your own dollars to charity. It's the same kind of shit that Andrew Wilson does. And then Tim Pool has the gall to bring it back to the start of our conversation to be like, Democrats are the ones demanding money to debate.
I mean, fuck. I found that.
Maybe Pac-Man, maybe like I don't know, BTC or something. I'm not sure. Like the big people.
It's just like, how can that guy call anyone a grifter when the Russia Tenet thing happened? When his whole shtick is like trying to foment a civil war while selling you prepper buckets. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous.
IRI, you need to go on Tim Pool. I think, like, especially now that you've been in the MAGA gauntlet on TikTok.
You've been honed.
Yeah, you're at the apex of your powers. You humiliated with facts and logic Ben Shapiro in a viral Jubilee moment. So Tim Pool would be
I'm down. My only concern is Tim will bring up something from 12 years ago that I'm not prepared for, and he'll be like, you remember when that happened, and then it's like it's hard to prep, I think. But I would talk to you guys about it, I guess.
It is.
You guys did great.
That doesn't matter, but he will be like, oh, I'm sorry. See, this is my problem with Democrats. Democrats don't know anything. You don't remember this thing that happened 13 years ago that has absolutely no effect on current day politics, and you're so uninformed. It's embarrassing, IRI. It's embarrassing. Look at you.
Do you remember when he went off on Luke?
Yeah.
Over the fucking, was it seditious conspiracy guy?
He was just totally wrong. Enrique
Tarrio. Yeah. And he was like, so we're just going to slide past the fact that you went off on me for no reason and I was absolutely right and you were absolutely wrong. And Tim is so shameless. He was like, yeah, we are going to blitz Bryant. And let me tell you why. Like, okay, buddy. Because I control time here. No, you should do it.
I think it's really important to do like a proper vibe check right now, because I mean, even you said at the start of the stream, Josiah, you were talking about how, like, typically, Trump is the one that's in control of the messaging stuff or whatever. If we just objectively get a lay of the land right now, the Republicans are losing this messaging war. Mm-hmm. They are in a low spot. Like, Donald Trump's polling is horrible. Democrats are up on the congressional ballot. They consistently have been massively overperforming in special elections. Like, people bring up their negative approval ratings, and I looked into it because I was like, wait a second, is this kind of a predictable phenomenon for like a party that loses power to drop in approval ratings? And it turns out it is. Democrats' approval rating dropped in 2001, dropped in 2017. In 2017, it dropped to the low 30s, and 2 years later, they went on to have a blue wave election. Republicans, their approvals amongst their own voters in 2014 was lower than the way that Democratic voters look at the Democratic Party now.
At the time of the shutdown, as a matter of fact.
And 2 years later, they went on to win trifecta with a pretty massive majority in the House. So for all the talk about like the bad approval numbers right now, like the Republicans right now are losing. Like, they are not winning right now. They are in a really bad spot.
It's also that, unlike the Republicans, Democrats are pissed off at Democrats, right? Like, that's the other, that explains the delta in a huge part too, which is that Republicans, for the most part, they're fucking happy as a clam with what Trump is doing. Like, they love themselves. Democrats, we're fucking, we hate ourselves so much. So, yeah.
I just want to say, like, I get that, Hutch, and I agree. I don't think that this, like, the sky is falling in the sense of, because the Republicans will point to that approval number and they'll be like, see, Trump is unpopular maybe, but you guys are more unpopular. Like, and I agree that Josiah's explanation fits the bill there, and I don't think it's a portent for us, like, losing the midterms or anything. And I think that we're still in a position to do very, very, very well. And I'm encouraging people to be white-pilled about that, and I love it. But I don't think that means we're maximizing our leadership. And this is kind of dovetailing back to the conversation we're talking about with Schumer. I actually didn't have a criticism for Schumer's statement after the shutdown happened. I thought it was good. And part of the reason I thought it was good is because it was short. And I think that people like Jeffries and Schumer, yeah, they might be able to bring us to a victory in the midterms, but I want a thumping. I want the Democratic Party to regain some sense of popular mandate, some sense of like overwhelming support to get us to those Obama numbers. And I'm concerned that under leadership we won't get there.
Yeah, but again, that, like, I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like we should talk about this, because like that's something that I've been talking with my chat about. Like, in terms of Democratic leadership, dare I say, like the leadership is doing really fucking good right now. And quite frankly, it's not the leadership's job to lead us to like a blue wave election. That's more on the DNC than congressional leadership. It's Jeffrey's job to keep the caucus unified in the House. He's doing that. He lost Golden. That's it. Right now, he's forced the Republicans into they have to whip every single vote or whatever. Schumer has kept his caucus not as unified, but enough to force this negotiation. And it's a political loser for the Republican Party right now. Like the big beautiful bill is not popular. The Medicaid cuts are not popular. They are being blamed by plurality of voters. Like they are basically doing their job right now about as good as you can do that job.
I think that Dr. Grunz, I think it's correct, Touch, that like I think our disagreement largely is premised now on like what we think the respective jobs are of the Democrats. And I don't view the DNC's job necessarily of maintaining the party brand. I think that is a job that leadership must be included on as well. And yeah, I think that it's much broader than that, and we need to be playing on all fronts. So, and unfortunately, yeah, I think that if you take the view that I do, that there's more demand on our legislative leaders for narrative success, for optics and stuff, I don't think you can say they're doing their job.
Well, I need to back up Pisco here because I did meet with Ken Martin, who's head of the DNC, and while they do have media control, and he did fire all the media consultants after like the election because he was like, whatever we did last time, that did not work. We're doing some new stuff. At the same time, he explicitly said this to me, and this might have been a dodge because I asked him about Israel and Palestine. I'm like, hey, what's with the Dems' rhetoric on this? And he was like, oh, I don't tell them what to say. But that's true. They don't tell them what to say. And the leaders are the ones who are reaching out. No one knows who Ken Martin is. The DNC is able to put out those kitty memes or whatever. I think that's part of their media team. But in the long run, people are looking to leaders and leaders' messages. So the DNC is not going to have the ultimate say as to whether or not we win an election. They're in charge of canvassing and ground game and that sort of stuff. But like ultimately, people need to hear the right messages from the leaders.
Yeah, and I do want to say, because Ken Martin, I mean, obviously I'm not privy to the conversation you had with him, but a couple of weeks ago, he had a really painful interview with Jon Stewart in which he kind of litigated that. He's like, listen, we are basically the support infrastructure to try to help get these people elected. But at the end of the day, it's not like some sort of like they report to me, this fucking Jeffrey Schumer, this is what you will say, this is what you're going to say to, like, it's very much, most of the ball is with the actual candidates themselves, and the DNC under Martin, they provide critical support. But yeah, I think that we can't, while we do need to acknowledge that Democrats are currently winning the messaging wars. And again, I don't know. I didn't go back and check the polling for like the 2018, 2019 government shutdown, or there was another one, I think, under Trump. But like, I don't know.
One of them is more, one of them is less. Harry Anton ran the numbers.
I don't know what the margin is as far as like, I know the Democrats are doing better, but are they doing, like, for example, when it came to the generic ballot, my understanding is like, yes, we're leading in the generic ballot, but not at the level we want to see.
Oh yeah, no, it's 1 or 2
numbers.
points.
Yeah,
it's 2 points, 3 points. That's it.
So I think it's important to acknowledge that, but I also don't think that we should just be confident that it's going to be that, number one, we're going to win the midterms, or number two, it's going to be a wipeout, when that margin needs to be much bigger in order to reflect the sort of result that we wanted. You have something to say, Hutch?
Well, no, I know IRI is going to have my back here. Hop in there, buddy.
Well, I just want to say, I wouldn't get your hopes up about some huge win, like 40-seat victory. Those days, I think, are gone. There's about 15 seats that are won by like 5% or less. So it's really hard to get a giant lead. So I would expect maybe like an 8-seat majority or something. And then if we can get the Senate, we got to win 4 seats. And so there's only 2 that are really vulnerable, Maine and North Carolina. Otherwise, we're going to have to win in places like Iowa, Ohio, or maybe even Texas. So I would not expect a blowout, and I would just, take whatever victory we get is good enough for me.
The thing is, like, I understand that that's like the current political reality, but I want a Democratic Party to, if we want to see change in this country, to protect this country, to punish the wrongdoing, the corruption, and to eliminate the corruption that's been instituted by Trump. That's not enough. That's too narrow of a margin. And I want a party, and you tell me how we get there. Maybe you say it's impossible, but there has to be someone with a strategy or an idea of how we can start challenging Missouri, how we can start challenging Montana, how we can start challenging these.
Ezra Klein had some thoughts.
Yeah, so I'm open to everything, but like I want a party that is one of the things that Ken Martin talked about was a 50-state strategy. I want a 50-state strategy. We can't. They're not resting on their laurels, the Republicans in New Jersey. I understand it's a state election, governor, very different dynamics, all that stuff. But like, they want to turn all of our blue states red. We should be wanting to turn the red states blue. And it doesn't seem like there's an appetite to think more ambitiously among the Democratic leaders. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they will, but I'm concerned.
Well, what do you guys think would have to happen for there to be a 50-state strategy? Like, what would be your advice?
I think you need something like AI comes along and wipes out a bunch of jobs, and we have 10-20% unemployment, and Republicans are just shitting the bed.
I'll be honest with you, that's
Probably
not where
true.
I thought that sentence was going. That's
what Laksha said, by the way.
As soon as he said AI wiping out, I'm like, holy fuck, where's IRI going with this?
That's what Laksha said, by the way. He said like the political winds can shift massively during like a depression or a recession or whatever.
Well, then let me ask you that then, IRI. Do you think that Democrats actually are doing the wrong thing by allowing a shutdown? Because I've heard some people, Pod Save America hosted a really good debate, and I'm blanking on who it was with. But basically, one of the arguments was you should allow the government to remain open so that we see, was it something about more of these healthcare effects start to take place, you know, in the next coming weeks under the Trump government, where they would be able to implement that. And basically that the shutdown is saving the Republicans from themselves, and that the pain that the American people will feel from a shutdown is actually a fraction of what they would feel if Trump were just allowed to keep the government open. So, well, what do you think?
I've heard this. I heard it on Bulwark as well. There was a guy freaking out on there who said, "What are you doing? You're saving Trump. Let the people get hurt." But I looked at the stats, like what percentage of people on the ACA are Democrats, Republicans, Independent, and it was basically split 35-35, Democrats, Republicans, and then Independents and people don't identify as anything. So I think there's a substantial amount of Democrats who would be negatively impacted, but also Democrats want to position themselves as trying to help everybody. And like you guys said, we should have a red state status strategy. Well, this might be it. I mean, I'm starting to hear some rumblings that health insurance, healthcare is going to be the issue again of the midterms. Doesn't feel like it right now, but these premiums are going to be nasty, and it's going to get more expensive to get healthcare next year. And I think a lot of people are going to be pissed off. So this might be an opportunity for us to really win over some people in red states.
Yeah, I don't think you can give up your principles and say we should let hospitals in rural red districts shut down and let them get hurt so that they vote for us, because that is going to kill people. And whether or not you know that, like, hey, like this might help our chances in the midterms, like I think it's good that Democrats are fighting for that sort of thing. But I also think because you brought up Ezra Kleinhutch. I'm someone who has gone around with some of these politicians and seen, like, yeah, when you're in like, South Carolina and you're talking to Baptists, you're not talking about trans issues as your number one thing, but you're not throwing trans people under the bus either. Versus Ezra Klein saying things like, hey, we should run pro-life Democrats in red districts, I think is insane, because it's like, what's the point of being a Democrat if you're giving up female bodily autonomy? Like, what's the point? Like, at what point do you say, hey, let's run like the pro-war, anti-abortion, like, Democrats? Okay, this
I'm
is
sorry, can I just address this real quick before I lose this comment? Because I just saw this, getting one guide here. I just want to say, we've commented about this when it's Cenk Uygur, no matter who it is, and it could be a more conservative Democrat or a more progressive Democrat. I get triggered as fuck. I don't know about you guys. When people make it so reductive, winning is easy. It's just so easy. You guys are just too fucking stupid to understand.
There's a lot of that.
I get that.
It's always the Bernie people too, because like as a Bernie guy, it's very frustrating to be like, hey, he lost twice, and it wasn't because like his ideas were perfect, but they fucked him. It's because not enough people voted for him, and it sucks. I wanted them to win, but like, you can't just be like, oh, just do what Bernie did. It's like, well, that didn't work. I want to win.
It's more offensive when it comes from Cenk, because at least Bernie got relatively close to winning compared to Cenk. But like that sort of mentality, like that we can't have this conversation, that the winning strategy is so obvious, so simple. It's just literally everyone around you is so fucking stupid. I mean, probably not. Probably not. So maybe have some epistemic humility there.
I want to say, can I just one quick thing? Because I think that I don't know that I have all the good answers. Maybe Ezra has the answers. Maybe the lefties have the answers. Maybe Bernie has the answers. Maybe whatever. But whatever the answer is, my intuition is that there's an identity crisis. I don't think that the same thing is true of Trump. Trump and the MAGA movement, there's a strong identity. What it is to be a Democrat, what it is to support the Democratic Party, I think that is not clear. That is not spelled out in the way it was, for example, to be a New Deal Democrat or to be a new Democrat under the Bill Clinton, or to be an Obama era Democrat. I feel like the current Democratic Party is suffering from identity crisis. I don't know that I have the solution for it, but it feels like what we refer to ourselves as and what we sort of operate as, what our organizing principles are, those aren't clearly defined, other than like pragmatically trying to scrape wins in every contest.
I hear that a lot. I mean, I'm sympathetic to that argument. I understand. Like when I think of the Democratic Party, I feel like I have a pretty clear image of like who they are. We're talking about a party that's going to try to protect and expand the ACA. Talking about a party that wants to do like a compassionate immigration reform, legal pathway to citizenship for people, like taxing wealthy people more. Just, I feel like we all know this, right?
That this is not clear to the average Democrat, not even close. I think what you just said surprised me as like, wow, you were able to pick out the things that are the Democrats' policies. But if you're looking at like, if you just went to a random Democrat and be like, who's the leader who's saying these things? They'd be like, I don't fucking know. And it is an identity crisis. It's not a lack of policy that's the problem. It's a lack of having the person who's saying it. And that's why, as much as I just said, hey, it sucks that Bernie lost, he did do I'm going to repeat my platform over and over and over. Everyone can nail you down and tell you, oh, he's the 1% versus 99% guy. He's the healthcare guy. He's the free college guy. Who is that in the Democrats right now? Most people don't even know who Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries are. I think that might emerge when there's like a front runner in the primary in 2028. But for now, I don't think that doesn't exist.
Well, and Hutch, sorry, is a super chat for Hutch. Josiah, please make Hutch address the fact that Dem voter registration is abysmal while Republicans adding huge amounts of voters. Please make the king of Cope address this. Dems are looking horrible.
Look, all I know is that whenever you see a consistent trend of overperformance in special elections, it's basically always predictive of midterm performance. And right now, what we're seeing in terms of the margin, it's double what they were before the 2018 midterms. Like it's like 12 to 15 point overperformances relative to November. Now, all those races, like we didn't win all those races. Sometimes that just means you lose by less, but we have like flipped a couple seats and these sorts of things. And like this kind of trend just is consistently predictive of midterm performance. So what I see from that is I see a Democratic Party that is frustrated with their leadership. That much is very apparent, but they are energized and they're still showing up and they're voting in, the off like general elections. So
I want to address the comment head on. The numbers I've seen are for party registration from 2020 through 2024. And so, the Democrats were quite unpopular with inflation at a record high and what was going on at the border. But I think that those figures are going to flip here as more and more people get frustrated with the Republicans. But the Republicans gained steam in the last couple of years. There's no denying that. But here's what I'll say, too, is I think our party's fine. I know people are going to flip out and they don't like when I say this, but we had a geriatric candidate who wasn't up for the task. He had a terrible debate performance. We put in Kamala. She had 3 months. So it's been a disaster for the last year, politically for us and for the face of the party. But now we got Giga Chads like Gavin, Big Dick Newsom getting in there. And I think we've got a killer issue here and showdown with the Republicans on the shutdown. And I think we're going to turn this around here. And as Hutch said, we've been kicking ass in every single special election since November. Like look at April in Wisconsin, where we won by 10 points in a state that Trump barely won just months earlier. So all signs are saying Democrats are doing very well. And I'm sorry, people can cope all they want. Democrats suck, Democrats this, but we just had a terrible series of events last year. That's my opinion.
I do think registration. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
On the registration numbers, you got to be careful extrapolating with them. They're not predictive of election success. In the long term, I think that they do present a problem. So I don't want to say whoever the commentator was that there's no problem there. I think the Democrats need to get the registration numbers up in the long term. But it's not predictive of immediate election success.
But like when people say the Democrat Party sucks and you guys are in big trouble, then how did we win in Wisconsin by 10 points, just in April?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think that the registration numbers are predictive of election success. And it's much more, if you look at the head-to-head election polls that are predictive, the special elections, those are predictive. Registration, no. It is a problem in the long term. The Democrats need to find ways to register more votes, but it's not going to be the make or break issue in the upcoming elections.
I don't know what
responds. Josiah.
He responds since IRI and Hutch addressed him. He responded. This is the last time Ukulele. I appreciate it, but we got to let you go after this. Not true. We underperformed in every special election since Kirk got shot.
I mean, this is not true. I don't know what to say. Like we had a really good night in Arizona just like a week or two ago or something like that. So I don't know.
got a new congressperson.
I do want to double back to the Ezra Klein thing, because I feel like that's ripe for like a interesting discussion. And I think like we should contextualize what he said, because I feel like I'm seeing a lot of people misrepresent what he said. So what he did not say was that, the Democrats should start shifting to become like more pro-life as a party. What he was very clearly, I think, hinting to when he made that suggestion was, imagine a race where it's a super red district. And the only way that you could be competitive running a Democrat in that district would be if they had some conservative views on, I don't know, like 1 or 2 issues. I'm just making it up. So in that case, like, I would put it to you guys, like, we all agree that this is like Trump represents, if not in the immediate, but like we all agree that he represents a fascistic threat, right? Like, so if that was the case, does it not merit extraordinary like tactics to combat that? Like, if we're fighting fascism,
that's
like
not what Ezra was positing, though. Ezra was saying, yes, obviously you can isolate and look at certain districts and say, in this specific case, if we ran someone a little more red, and not like, we can't just run a uber progressive everywhere, that's not going to work. That makes perfect sense. The problem is the examples that he gave, and the reason why his co-hosts pushed back on him, were giving up on fundamental things that the Democratic Party should not be compromising on. Like, yeah, I guess theoretically, if you're compromising on like interracial marriage, gay marriage, like abortion rights, theoretically maybe that's the only way you could win, but at that point we're so far gone it doesn't matter, versus saying, hey, maybe we have a blue dog Democrat that like wants more gun rights, or hey, maybe this person's like a little more fiscally conservative than
I think
like
he also
Zoran
said,
Mamdani, but he used like the worst example, which was abortion, which is something Democrats should never compromise on.
I think he also said, just set the principle aside. I think part of what Coates also pushed back on, he mentioned it, was that abortion is something that performs well even in red states, so like Kentucky and Kansas and things of that nature. So that particular.
Sorry, he was just being off the cuff. Like, I don't think he was like very specifically prescribed. I think he was like more speaking to the general idea of like.
Can you repeat that? You glitched out for me. I don't know if.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I don't think he was like meaning to specifically hone in on abortion to start like a larger conversation. I think he was just like coming up with a hypothetical on the fly. But like, I just want to test like your logic here. Let's just construct an extreme hypothetical, and I would put it to everybody's audiences as well. If it meant a House majority for Democrats, if they ran like let's just use his specific example, like a really red district in Missouri, and it was a Democrat who was pro-life. And if that was the difference between getting a House majority and not having a majority,
yes, of course. Yes, of course.
In this isolated thing, of course, Hutch. But yeah, the premise itself is flawed, because you have to look at how does this signal to Democrats throughout the state, and also it's presenting this dichotomy where, I mean, I don't know if you look at like gay marriage polling and how like Obama ran on an anti-gay marriage platform, and the polling on gay marriage turned around when the leader, Obama, started to be pro-gay marriage. That is something that shifts the message. And so if all of the leaders start shifting more right, not because they're like genuinely more right, but because this weird like, game theory thing about the only way we could win, inevitably you're going to shift the populace more right too. And it's just a downward, I think it's a losing
we're not
game,
talking about leaders.
We need that.
We're not talking about leaders. We're not talking about leaders shifting right. Like Ezra never said that.
Yes.
You're adding.
If you're running a candidate as a leader, Hutch. You're running a leader that's more pro life.
Hang on. It's not like Jeffries and Schumer are like picking these candidates. So if like primary candidate, like if a conservative primary candidate wins in like a primary in Missouri or something like that, Jeffries and Schumer didn't like pick that person, right? So like if somebody advances past the primary, I think what he's saying is like, should we chase that person out of the party, or should we have a situation like Henry Cuellar?
No, but that's not what he's saying. He's not saying
but when have Democrats done that
once they've won the primary. He's saying run more pro-life candidates to win these seats. That's what he's saying.
I think you're taking him way too literally. I think he's saying like
look, maybe he can clarify later. I heard what he said.
Didn't he say explicitly like I'm with you that Ezra's usually got sharper points than this, but I'm pretty sure in that interview he even doubled down and said, no, I am explicitly saying in a red state, it was like Utah or Nebraska or something like that. I am saying that you should run pro-life candidates. So I think he wasn't just pulling that out of his ass. I think he honed in on that specific example and stood 10 toes down. And that's my only quibble with it is like, I agree that if the choice is a fiscally or a socially conservative or a more conservative Democrat versus a Republican. Like even the Joe Manchin example that we constantly go back to, I'd give anything to have Joe Manchin back in West Virginia as opposed to Jim Justice. So I don't think that that's particularly controversial, but I think why people were so pissed at Ezra is like, bro, that example is something where we saw it on ballot referenda, like red states were getting fucking clocked in ballot initiatives about protecting abortion rights.
I understand that. I mean, but I feel like we're getting kind of lost in the weeds and sort of missing the larger point that he was making, which is just kind of broadly against purity testing in the Democratic Party.
But there needs to be some, right? Like,
there should be some purity testing.
If there's no standards, and this is a Econoboy's point, so shout out Econoboy. If there's no standards, there's no identity, right? Like there needs to be something that defines what a Democrat is, and that shouldn't be just contingent on not Trump. Like that, I think it's because think about it, right? Like, if it's the case, this has happened before, and people said this about law stuff, where, like, for example, you could argue, I didn't shoot him, but even if I did, it would be self-defense. And coherently, that is an argument that could make sense. But the jury doesn't like to hear these conflicting messages, even though, logically, it wouldn't be any contradicted in saying, I didn't shoot him, but if I did, it would have been justified. Having some set of principles that I think are consistent across Democrats, maybe in a particular race they might be to a disadvantage, but there's a kind of party coherentness. There's a kind of identity that I think we're missing. And if it's ultimately elastic and every issue is on the table, then what is what does it mean to be a Democrat?
Yeah, like Hutch, I have a question for you. Would you consider it purity testing if, like, in the same way he had posited, we should run someone who wants to overturn Loving v. Virginia, like bring back miscegenation laws, anti-miscegenation laws? Like, obviously, in a hypothetical that you would posit, if it was the dichotomy between that and complete fascism in this one district having this super racist guy win, of course, that would make sense between that and fascism.
Well, that's how. But that's really how I look at things, though.
Right, but I don't think that's the only two options, and I don't think you would call it purity testing to say absolutely not. We're not letting the overturn Loving for Virginia guy be the Democrat in this county, right?
Purity testing is not meant to, like, we're not talking about like virtue signaling. Purity testing is just an expression to mean like you have to be like really rigid in terms of like who you allow in the party. And when I talk about fascism, like I take the threat very literally, and I guess when I hear people say that they would like pass up on like a pro-life Democrat in a fucking district in Missouri or whatever, that to me does not feel congruent with saying like we could have fascism if we don't stop them from taking power. Like when,
I think the objections have been expressed to you, Hutch, and you can tell me if you've heard them. The first is the notion that that this premise that this guy would be more successful given the set of ideas, and the second is to the extent that we're talking about uniting behind X candidate, it's already happening. What Ezra I think is talking about is a more concerted effort than just passively allowing people to get into the primary. I think he's saying we should field candidates as though there should be some kind of like some movement from the leadership to push these kinds of candidates, and I think so. In addition to the, undermining the premise that this is going to be more successful for electoral outcomes, there's a notion that it could be problematic in terms of party coherence and identity in the long run.
Yeah, I just think that it's. Oh, sorry, Hutch. I just want to say, I think we just have too much of a threat right now with Trump and his attacks on our democracy and, like you guys said, fascism, that there's no time to sit here and think, what can the Democratic Party's identity be? It has to be anti-Trump right now because he's such a threat. And I think in response to Trump, there'll be the momentum to do some big changes like shoring up our democracy and rebuilding some of these agencies. And the Democratic Party can run on that stuff. Here's our modern day version of the Department of Education. And here's what we want to do with USAID moving forward. And, the election is 3 years away, man. Like I said, AI could be the biggest thing. Who knows? So there's a lot of time. I don't think we need to force this identity. I think it happens naturally.
Straighter Aid has one for you, Hutch. I don't see, she's been spamming this. I don't see the right saying they need to run pro-choice candidates. What do you say to that?
Well, I feel like you could argue that like Republicans might have some success in states like, New Jersey, New York, and California if they ran more liberal like Republicans. You know what I mean?
Well, I got to say, Hutch, because like the I do think Ezra's idea is what Pisco was representing was, yes, a concerted movement to find more pro-life candidates, not just to say, hey, like once they win, like say it's like, the Zoran Mondani situation, like, look, they won the primary, vote blue no matter who. I agree with that because we have to get anyone over a Republican.
But Dems are already doing that.
But well, true. But the idea that, hey, if we run this person who's essentially a diet Republican on certain issues, maybe in certain cases I could see like, yeah, there are people that are single issue voters on the Second Amendment. There are people that are single issue voters on like being fiscally conservative. And they'd say, look, I hate all this Trump crap. But if we just had a Democrat who just understood that I want to keep some guns, it doesn't want to ban them all, I'd vote for them. And if you look at the populace, maybe the Democratic or the independent populace in these counties, and there is a concerted effort, there's a need for that, I can understand that. Obviously, that could happen. But the idea that, hey, this is not a close election, we're in a deep red district, so if we run someone who is Republican on a couple issues, but then Democratic on all these other ones, if the populace isn't begging for that, if they're looking for a more Republican person, or the Democrats are looking for a more Democratic person, how does this make us win? I think that's the issue, is that he's presenting this kind of false dichotomy where, yeah, trolley problem wise, obviously I'd pick anything over Trump, but I don't think that's the reality. I mean,
I could be remembering it wrong, but I think he proposed it like a hypothetical, like maybe we need to start talking about doing this. And obviously, like any decision for, what kind of candidates we could throw institutional behind in this or that district so as to maximize their chances of winning, any kind of informed decision would have to be informed, but like it would have to be very data driven. So like you would have to show me like really compelling data. And if you showed me in a crazy hypothetical, if you showed me that a pro-life Democrat that is, Democratic Party aligned on basically every other issue had a better chance of unseating like a really safe red district, I would be open to that candidate getting that kind of support.
Yeah, I don't think
getting endorsed by the leadership in Congress, right?
Yeah, if there was a data-driven, like if you could demonstrate just empirically that this would substantially increase the odds of flipping a seat that would otherwise never flip, then I think we should have those conversations if we're also having a conversation about the looming threat of fascism.
Don't do it, Pisco. You son of a bitch. I knew exactly where you were going with that.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
So question. He's like charging out his ultimate.
Mom Donnie. Stop. We can move on.
Fucking saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah, let's do it again. That was great.
Yeah. But I guess I'm curious what you guys think. Like Gavin Newsom has come out to be a little against trans women in sports, and people freak out on him, and people didn't appreciate Joe Manchin. So I don't know, man. Like it just seems like you can't win. You can't,
Well, I mean, listen, we've all litigated our disagreements with Joe Manchin on so many things, but I've said before and I'll say it again, I would love to have Joe Manchin back in West Virginia if the choice is a Republican.
But that doesn't seem like the consensus, because I can't even tell you like how many times my own chat like overwhelmingly revolted against me and said something to the effect of, I don't want him. I don't want Joe Manchin in that seat. And I would say to them like, well, even if that meant like a Republican replacing him, and they would tell me like,
that's
straight up,
fucking dumb.
Yeah,
that's dumb.
I would rather have a Republican.
I got yelled at for it by Jake when I said we're lucky to have Joe Manchin, and he freaked out on me. You're crazy. You're crazy. It's like, well, that gave us 51 votes, you dumbass. What do you think?
Right? Yeah. No one's saying that Manchin is the ideal, but when we don't have the ideal and the alternative is a Republican, there are meaningful, like even Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin both. Like if you look, I can't remember, I think it was 538 that used to track this shit, like voting in the age of whoever the president is. And Sinema and Manchin, I think like 80, 90% overwhelmingly voted for Biden's legislation. And certainly like Biden's judges, they were, in lockstep, even when they left the party and just caucused as independents, they were in lockstep with the Democrats there. If the alternative is now Sinema, again, obviously I'd rather have Ruben Gallego than Sinema. So Sinema to me is nowhere near what Manchin is, but Manchin, he was a fucking unicorn, the only Democrat that we could ever get in West Virginia, and I would love to have him back.
But I think Manchin is kind of the perfect example of what I think Ezra Klein is challenged. Now I don't know if he's right on this, like what I'm just open to the conversation. I can be persuaded or whatever. But I think Manchin is just like the perfect example of what he was trying to sort of dissuade from the Democratic Party. Like, I think like we should embrace candidates that have better chances of winning in seats that are currently occupied by Republicans. And I think that is a conversation that we should have. And I think the fact that so many people in the Democratic Party wanted Manchin out, even if it meant giving up a seat, I think that is like a really big cultural problem within the Democratic Party.
But Hutch, Manchin is like the edge case of like, yeah, it's this or a Republican. Obviously, we pick Manchin so that we can win certain ties. But if you're looking at, and this is why his co-host was pushing back, is like, whose rights are you throwing on the chopping block to shift the Democratic Party? Like, if you're in certain cases, if it was like, again, a very isolated, it's this or Trump, that's obvious. If we're saying, hey, let's have a concerted effort to put more pro-life people, and this is why I brought up the anti-interracial marriage thing, is because like, yeah, there's a theoretical world where you could win certain seats, but what does that say about your party if you're now pushing certain
it says
insane...
it says that you take the threat seriously. And so like, I feel like what you're saying is a little incoherent, because whose rights are you putting on the chopping block by allowing the Republicans to have a majority?
I think that what Soy Pill is suggesting is that you're not maximizing long-term, broad-based wins because you're undermining what it means to be a Democrat to some extent. Like we have shit approval ratings partly because no one knows what the fuck that is. And if it's ultimately malleable, I think what Soy Pill is alluding here is there could be long-term strategies to fight back this fascist term in the long term, and that could be undermined if we just basically are acquiescing to some fundamental. So, for example, if there was a candidate,
like Hutch, let me make my defense too, Piso, because I agree with what you're saying and backing me up here. It's one, you have to assume that this is going to work better. Where it's not like again, I know you understand this, but like you would have to look at the data and say a diet Republican here would win. Two, if it's a concerted effort and you're doing this everywhere, you have to show that the Democratic Party becoming more right-wing in their rhetoric is not going to alienate a bunch of the Dems in the same way last election. A bunch of them just didn't show up because they're like, I don't feel motivated. I don't feel inspired by this. Now, to IRI's point, yeah, there's a horrible, chaos of horrible events all happening at once, lightning in a bottle. But if people start seeing this Democratic Party as we stand for nothing, and we will from top down start filtering in more right-wing candidates to the point of giving up rights for women, for black people, for minority, for trans people. This is very different from Gavin Newsom saying what I think is a very popular idea. Unfortunately for all the people that want to argue about this, the trans women in sports things, if you ask the most progressive liberal Democrats, they'll say, yeah, that does seem a little unfair. They should probably figure it out another way, which is kind of his position, Ro Khanna's position, which is very different from, hey, women shouldn't be able to get abortions. That's a very, very, very over the line thing.
So again, I feel like this doesn't really reflect the urgency. If we're using the term fascism, we don't really have the luxury to focus on long-term goals. It's not like we should never think about it, but fascism is about stemming the immediate short-term threat of fascism, which would necessarily mean if fascism ever fully arrived in the United States, that's it. It's just a uniparty around a dictator, and we don't have these kinds of democratic mechanisms.
Right, but
I don't understand how
the next vote comes up, Hutch, and it's between, let's say Trump's going to cheat his ass off trying to win in 2028, and you're asking a voter to pick, and the messaging from both parties is, one is no abortions, we're going to ban it completely statewide, and they're able to communicate to the voter hey, the Democrats tried to do that in certain districts too. It doesn't matter if obviously in the bigger picture we want the Democrats to win because they're the ones who are going to protect it in most cases. You're able to show hey, the Democrats aren't much better, and you're able to play that well, there really isn't a lesser of two evils. Both parties are the same bullshit, which I don't agree with. But if they're going to compromise that much and give up their values, you can't have that identity. You can't present that dichotomy anymore because it's what even is a Democrat? Because apparently the leadership is promoting pro-life people.
But this goes to IRI's point. He was just talking about yeah, you got it. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say nobody's doing that though. We're creating this phantom menace that doesn't exist of hardcore Democrats who are basically Republicans, right? Manchin, as much as people hated him, he was basically a Democrat. I mean, and he had some conservative values or whatever. But it's not like he voted it. He did anything terrible. So I just don't understand why people are so averse to this idea of letting in more conservative people. I really don't care. I think that they're 90%.
I don't know what is meant by that. So IRI, if by let them in, it means something like if they win, support them. I think everyone on this podcast was aghast or not happy when Manchin said he was dropping out of the Senate or was not going to run for Senate reelection. So I don't think that there's a problem among Democrats to, given an option in these various states, to choose a lesser of two evils. I think that's, but if what it means is a concerted effort by party leadership to back specific conservative candidates in places, that's what we need to have just clarification on what is meant, right? Is what is meant back a candidate who has won a primary who's more conservative, then that is happening, that is done. But what is being recommended here is something other than that, because clearly Ezra or you guys are not recommending doing what's already being done, right? There's something else being recommended, and what's being recommended must be something substantial, and it must be something from leadership. It must be like we are making a concerted push from the top down to push some kind of candidates in particular locations. If by let in conservatives you mean actively promote conservative Democrats as the lead Democratic candidate in various different races, that's what I think needs to be contended with, not the kind of more sanitized let them into the coalition.
Well, so if we construct a different, like another hypothetical, but maybe I made the same point. Like if you were shown data that like with the current crop of Democrats that are being recruited by, you know, Dem-aligned groups to run in seats all over the country, if you were shown like a current projection that it's like a 50-50 situation where the Democrats take back the House in 2026. But if we implemented this Ezra Klein policy,
it would be 100%. Yeah, I would take the 100%.
Okay, then wait, hang on.
I would have voted. No. So given the choice between, and this is what I think we're missing. Given the choice between Mitt Romney at 100% and Kamala Harris at 50%, I would have picked Mitt Romney. So I do take the threat seriously. If you give me the trolley problem, like Soy Pill is saying, we're going to take it every time, and we're even going to take a conservative with a higher likelihood of chance because of fascism. What we're talking about, though, are two different things. One is a situation in which it's not just picking the lesser of two evils in a general election. It's
no. I'm taking your example. Like, let's say the Democrats make a concerted effort to have like Dem-aligned groups go out and recruit conservative
and actively
Democrats.
Push conservatism,
yes,
conservative Democrats.
Well, no, not conservatism, but like
the problem there is going to be empirical. The problem there is going to be empirical. You just can't make the case that that's going to produce the best outcomes.
Yeah, you're assuming the premise here, Hutch, which is obviously.
I'm posing a hypothetical. I'm
all
not
right.
saying
In this hypothetical, if we knew for a fact that Ezra's strategy was like, let's run like pro-life, pro-gun, like let's give up democratic values in these places, and we beat Trump, and then we can push the party progressive. If that was the only way to win, of course we would want that, because Trump is like an existential threat.
But in the real world, just to be clear, the reason why I'm not convinced at my intuitive level, and I haven't been presented data, that this kind of concerted push, right? We're not talking about a push where we're just accepting the candidates. A concerted push is because can you imagine the revolt and how horrible it would look if the Democrats started being like, we are going to push a conservative message. It's cynical, Hutch. It's a cynical ploy, and people would see through it and be pissed off.
Of course it's cynical.
I think what he's saying is you would be burning that candle at both ends, right? So like the electorate is so broad that if you move to the right to try to pick up more right-leaning voters, you might alienate more left-leaning voters, and you're back at square one.
No, but the reverse logic applies as well. So like if there was data to demonstrate that a like super far left candidate has a better chance of winning a seat in a super blue seat, I don't know if you construct that hypothetical.
I don't know. It seems like some people aren't willing to back the super left candidate in these various different places, bro. I don't know. It seems kind of like
I knew
it
it
goes one way.
God damn it, Hutch. God damn it.
I mean, here's the thing. There's no trust here for that strategy, and also like what you're gonna see is maybe you gain some votes on the. From some moderates, but this is a small coalition, man. I mean, those Republicans, if they are really bought into these narratives, I think that they're going to go for the Republican. If they're really into gun rights, they're going to vote for the Republican. The Democrats just stress what they're good at.
Yeah, we don't have to keep going back and forth. So the point is, we accept, obviously, in any hypothetical, if this was the only option, that we would do it. There's zero question. It is just the better option. I think we just disagree on whether or not it is a good option.
It is the better option.
Hutch's best friend, Ogre Boy, says... There's a guy in Montana that says he's a Dem and really wants to appeal the 14th Amendment. Repeal the 14th Amendment. Thoughts?
I don't know.
Yes or no, Hutch? Will you vote for him?
Yes.
Come on in, buddy.
The extreme hypothetical that I presented, I would, yeah. I'm serious.
Absolutely. Because he's never going to get his way. Who gives a shit? He's
exactly.
Vote with
Okay, wait, hold on. But we're not in the extreme hypothetical, Hutch. We're in the reality where we believe that might not be the case, that this is the only option. So
No. In the extreme hypothetical where like this could be the difference between getting the House or not, then yes.
Right. Yes. But I'm saying right now we're not necessarily in that hypothetical, depending on whether or not we agree on the data. So this guy is just existing in our current reality. You probably wouldn't back him, right?
I'd ask that question again. I feel
in the hypothetical situation where it's this guy or a Republican and we lose control of the House, obviously we'd all agree we'd pick that person. But now, in reality, we don't know for a fact that supporting this guy is going to make the difference between winning us the House and beating fascism or not. So
you stand by the 14th Amendment is what.
If you showed me data, like literally, if you showed me data that we could flip that seat, then yeah, I would. But I take the threat of fascism. Right? I take the threat of fascism like.
What would you say? Can I ask you something?
We do too.
I mean, fair enough. But what would you say to more left-leaning, more liberal, more progressive voters? Like, would you say what IRI says? Hey, listen, we got to get this guy to fucking flip the Senate. I swear to God, if he proposes anything towards repealing the 14th Amendment, we'll crush him like a bug. Like, what are you going to do, I guess, because I think part of the frustration is, to a lot of people, obviously in chat and the people on here, you're very concerned about the rightward flank of the party, but you also have to keep the left together too. So what are you going to throw to the left to like not freak them the hell out that we're courting right-wing candidates? Have you
what could I possibly throw at them? Like, what do you mean?
What I mean is, there will be backlash within the party. We're already seeing it in chat, right? And presumably some of the
people in chat are listen.
No,
the people in chat, we're in like the 1% of the, like they're super engaged with politics. I don't.
So the Democratic Party is getting more progressive, Hutch. The Democratic Party. These are facts. The Democratic Party overall is getting more progressive. The Democratic Party is overall more frustrated with their leadership. It's not because their leadership is too conservative. And I think that we need to like read the room of the party, and like we're fighting against an ocean, like a movement here, where I think the movement is by the progressives, the energies with the progressives. Those are the people with the smart ideas. And just put it aside, like imagine that some news comes out that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are actively pre-primary, like concertedly pushing for these conservative type Democratic candidates in these various different places. It's going to come off as super cynical, and people are going to hate it. They're going to hate the party even more. They're going to be talking about making new parties. And it's it's a mess.
I should not have to explain like the basics of the fucking trolley problem. And unfortunately, the people that are like the most upset about this kind of hypothetical, I feel like they like failed the trolley problem every time. They fantasize that they're going to blow up the trolley before it hits anybody, but that's not what happens.
We're saying in the trolley problem, we agree with you, but we're disagreeing that it is a trolley problem. There are probably, in our opinion, more harms going to come of trying to do that than really winning the seat in the House back. But if this was the best option, and we agree. Like if this was, but that's the question. Is the big if there? If it is the best option.
But what harm?
The harm I thought we already explained. So if there is, so no matter what, you agree that this is not just talking about voting for a Democrat who happens to be conservative who wins a primary. We're not talking about that because that's already going on, and there's already measures by Democrats to do that, and Democrats in general vote for their candidate, with some exceptions, let's say. So what is being proposed is something different, a leadership push, top-down push. Let's run these candidates and support them more. And so that's the new idea. So this new idea is obviously going to come out as it's like this is going to come out. People are going to know about this push, and that looks really, really bad because it conflicts with the Democrats' broader messaging in their platform. It contributes.
It shouldn't. The Democratic Party right now should be defined by anti-fascism. That's what should define this party right now.
It doesn't really work, though. Also, just the anti-Trump party isn't enough. You have to have like something.
Anti-fascism, like we need.
That's what I think the problem is.
Anti-Trump, and we agree this is the existential threat. But if you want to win, if voting
people
is the way we
responding
do this,
to that
don't
as much.
Resonate with it, unfortunately.
But
like,
here, guys,
the
stop using the F word.
Was not on the high list of why people voted.
You're endangering Republican politicians by using the F word. So
no, I'm not. I'm not saying they should go out there and like literally define themselves by anti-fascism. I'm saying in practice, this party needs to be like the vanguard of liberal democracy. Like they have to be the anti-fascist party. And I think something that comes along with that is just entertaining unconventional or extraordinary possibilities.
I don't think we're too far apart there.
Wait. I just want to give the question. Hutch, if you knew that this strategy would result in less Democratic representation in the House and cost majorities, you would be against it, wouldn't you?
Obviously, yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. So what we're saying is not that the Democrats ought to be the vanguard of democracy. We're asking what approach is going to be more successful, and we're contesting the premise. My notion is that if you start having leadership back conservative Democrats in these states, the pushback and the outrage is going to be immense for the party who's already revolting against leadership, who's already becoming more progressive. I am not convinced.
That's a constant chorus, regardless. To be honest with you, because I feel like we're in that moment right now. Like we're like, would you disagree? I mean,
I feel like right now the Democratic Party
You just never you never really hear the end of it from the type of people that you're saying would be turned off by this strategy.
No, I'm not. No, this is broader.
It's just a never-ending salvo.
No, I think it's wrong to suggest this is just leftists. It's not just leftists. This is broader.
I'm not restricting it to just leftists.
I think there's a suggestion it is.
If you started like presenting the Democratic Party as pro-life, or like even if it wasn't a majority of them, the problem is
you don't need to present the party as pro-life.
No, I understand. Like I think the problem is you're viewing this in a very, and I mean this not in a condescending way, informed online way. And that is not the way that most people vote. And the messages and the black pill and the cynicism that's going to come out if you have a Democratic Party whose tent is so big that it incorporates people who we're actually just giving up the rights of certain minorities, I think that's really going to hurt voter turnout. I don't think that's going to work in the long run. That's all we're saying.
Nobody's doing that though.
I know we're not doing it now. Right. I'm saying this is what Ezra was proposing. That's the whole reason we were talking about it.
Well, I'm just saying, I hear a lot of conservatives tell me that I'm with you guys 80%, but there's one issue that I'm just not there. And so I think we have to have tolerance for that if we're going to win moving forward.
Wait, if by tolerance you mean we should support the candidates when they win their primary, I'm for you. Like, yeah, if they are going to appeal to the specific voters in their constituency, great. They can run those campaigns and they can rise and fall on their own.
It's not just about that, though. It's about like setting up a culture within the party of not literally chasing people like Manchin out of the party.
Sorry, no one pushed Manchin out of the party. Manchin quit the party.
No, hang on. He was chased out of the party. That's crazy.
No, Manchin said Manchin has a beef with Joe Biden. Manchin.
Well, here, we can squash the beef, Pisco, because the point is, you and I, Pisco, would say, obviously, Manchin was a good thing. He should not be run out of the party, regardless of whether or not he was.
He was run out of the party.
Regardless.
That's
not what we're talking about.
He was one of the most popular. He was literally one of the most popular senators in the entire Senate. And then during that whole era, he became one of the least popular
because
senators.
He signed on to the Inflation Reduction Act, and his constituency in West Virginia hated that.
No, I don't know if that was like that. I don't think that was.
I'm pretty sure the polls.
That's why.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
we'll
the polls.
We'll see. Maybe you're right about that. Maybe.
I'm sure. I think the polls in West Virginia said basically he was seen as too close to Biden. He was seen as too supportive of Biden.
Manchin kicked himself out of the party. Manchin thought that Biden was too extreme and was talking shit about Biden all the time. If you really support Biden, you should say, Manchin's a piece of shit. There was plenty of room for Manchin in the party. He kicked himself out, and I'm not going to have like other people blame lefties for kicking Manchin out. No, we're allowed to criticize Democrats like Fetterman. And I bet next time, Hutch, would you say this? If Fetterman's like, I'm independent now, would you be like, oh, we kicked Fetterman out of the party? No.
But Pisco, the problem is those same people never say anything positive about Manchin. It's always focusing on the negative. They never say anything positive. He was just a monster.
We agree that it's stupid to pretend that Manchin was as bad or worse as any Republican. Like I totally agree. We fought that battle here in Live and Learn before you became a co-host. We do it on our separate channels. Like we're with you 100%. Like, and I know there are people in chat. Ogre Boy, I believe, is one of them. I believe he was actually on this show at one point, and it's fucking stupid, and he's objectively wrong about that. But as far as like you mentioned that you talk to conservatives and they say I'm with you 80%, but there's just this one issue. I've got two questions to that because again, it's interesting to me because I'm looking at it as almost like a sliding scale that by definition, whenever we move to the right, we're moving away from the left, and we're trying to keep as many people as possible. Don't we get frustrated when people on the left say the same thing? Like, hey, I'm with you 80% on these issues, but it's this one thing, be it Gaza policy or whatever else. And don't we get frustrated and we're like, well, fuck, you are with us 80%, so shut the fuck up and vote for us. Like, shouldn't these conservatives who are 80% with us, who tell you they're 80% with us, but it's just one issue, be it pro-life policy or whatever, it's like, hey, shut the fuck up and join us because you're 80% with us? Like, that's where I want to know what the differentiating principle is. We would never say this about the left. We would say take the 80% and shut the fuck up. Then to the conservative voters we're trying to court,
I agree. We did.
Yeah.
We did. I mean, like 90% of these people voted for Democrats. That's why I don't debate leftists, because most of them are going to vote for Democrats, and I respect that they have their position. And I think we need people pushing for bigger stuff. So, like, I feel like we're there with them. I don't know.
Hutch,
so
what about you?
Can we deal with the Fetterman issue? I want to deal with the Fetterman issue. So the first, I have a question for Hutch is, if Fetterman leaves the party, would you say we pushed him out? That's first. And then number two, like, what do you make of the Fetterman thing overall? That like Fetterman is taking all these positions. He signed on to the Laken-Riley Act. He's basically saying that, why are you calling Trump a fascist when like we're calling him a fascist? And his approval ratings with Democrats are like minus double digits, 20 plus minus. Like that's not the Democrats who are pushing Fetterman out. That's Fetterman pushing himself out. So could you address those two things?
Well, he's positioned. Am I robot-y, by the way? Because I feel like my internet's being
you sound good.
There's like I think it's like it's like a negative symbiotic relation. First of all, we should point out that the progressives were the one that really pushed for Fetterman over Connor Lamb in that primary.
I agree.
I
agree.
That was before the brain damage.
No, wait.
AOC apologized.
AOC apologized. It was a huge mistake. I never liked Fetterman, and it was cringe to push for Fetterman. So yeah, I totally agree.
I'm just saying there is a little bit of irony there, but I think it's like a two-way street here. I think like Fetterman has taken really antagonistic positions against progressives, and they in turn have like really turned on him. So it's I don't know. It's a really like shitty dysfunctional relationship they got going on.
So you're not sure how to answer it?
Wait,
I'm not asking you descriptively what you think will happen. I'm asking you normatively, what would you like to happen? I'm asking you, what would your opinion be? Like, if he leaves the Democratic Party, would you say we pushed him out?
In his case, I think he's been pretty antagonistic. So I like I said, I did answer your question. I said it went both ways. So like, yes, he has taken a hostile tone against progressives, but they have matched that energy. And in fact, they've been attacking him like pretty much since day one, right?
But if he comes up to you and he's like, "Hey, Hutch, why are you saying like the reason that I did this is because I thought that like this is the best way to win Pennsylvania," and would you be sympathetic to that? You would just be like, "No, you're a raving lunatic."
No, because the data is not on his side. Like he's going to get creamed in his primary. And so like, again, in the hypothetical that I'm talking about, there would be like a lot like robust, survey opinion data or whatever.
Yeah, and in that case, I think Pisco and I are on the same board.
Yeah, I'm not saying like
if
roll
the data
the
is
dice,
showing that.
I'm not saying just roll the dice and see if it happens, because I understand what you guys are saying in terms of like this could create even more tension with the left flank, and I certainly wouldn't want that. And if you could demonstrate to me that the damage that would happen as a result of that would be worse than or would outweigh any kind of potential electoral benefit, then I would be open to that argument.
What if it was a net neutral? I'm curious. So like approximately the same. Would you rather have conservative votes or more progressive votes if you had your preference just based on policy?
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
Like I really don't. I don't care. Like I'm literally, my politics right now are about winning as many seats as possible.
Right, but would you rather win? Would you rather win shifting left or shifting right? Is the question. Obviously, I would shift left. Like even if it was just a little bit. Even if it was too much, because I'm not like a tanky or whatever. Like I would prefer we move closer left than closer right. Right.
Yeah. No.
Exactly.
No, I understand what you're saying now. Like my preference would be moving left so we can have more left-wing policy, obviously. But I'll take whatever I can get.
Have you guys seen Game of Thrones where King Baratheon, he says, "What's stronger, 5 armies or 1?" Yeah. 5-1. I kind of feel that way sometimes when we're too spread out. And I understand we're in a crisis mode. I agree with that. But I think there's an inclination to be ever elastic. And I think Econoboy saw this too. But when we just have people doing whatever they want all the time, there's no enforcement mechanism for the president when we want to get major legislation done. They don't feel the weight of any harm being done. And I think it's time that Democrats exercise a little bit of discretion here. And I think it's coming. In the primaries, Democrats are so upset. I think they're going to be pushing for people who are against the current offer, and I think that's on them. That's on them. I don't think that they've been connecting.
You say that, and I want to go back and interrogate something. This might be opening up a can of worms, but I want to go back and I want to interrogate something you said. Where you said, and I hear it a lot. Okay, you said a moment ago that the energy right now with the Democratic base is with the progressive movement.
I agree.
What is that based on?
My intuition. Sorry, the why there's energy there.
Yeah, why do you think the energy right now is the party right now?
So I'll tell you. So one is polling data suggests that the party is becoming much more progressive. That is one piece of evidence that I think suggests the progressive movement is carrying the day in terms of ideology. You recognize that's a piece of evidence that shows the progressive movement is actually having an effect?
I'm glad you said
that. Okay.
Are you talking about policy preferences? Is that what you're talking about?
In terms of self-identity, in terms of their opinions, they're generally becoming more progressive. Do you agree with that, or do you think that that's not the case?
Like abortion is the perfect issue on this. Like we moved massively to the left as a party on abortion just in the last 15 years.
So the movement is happening among the party, and it's moving to the left. That's what I mean.
No, but here's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about progressive politics. I'm talking about the progressive movement right now. Because I believe in progressive politics. I don't have a lot of faith in the progressive movement right now.
So when I say progressive movement has more energy, it's a reflection of like what activities are being done and what effect they're having. And I see the effect on the party, the Democratic Party, that it's being composed more over time of progressive people who self-identify as progressive. I just saw a recent poll, and this might shock some people, but that Democrats overall have a higher approval rating of socialism than capitalism. I'm not a socialist, and I don't know if they're going to get into the weeds about these discussions we have about socialism, but to the extent that the party is moving at all, it seems to be driven towards more progressive ideas. And I think that backs the view that progressives are the ones with the energy because they're winning the ideological war with Democrats. Do you agree with that?
Well, quite frankly, like who gives a fuck about opinion polls? Like honestly, who gives a shit? I'm talking about.
Else would I know? How else would I know whether or not the party is one ideological side is more or not energetic?
The point I'm making is that really doesn't matter. What matters is how many seats in Congress do progressives hold? Like, do you see progressives massively expanding over the last 10 years?
Yes.
What is that based on? What do you mean?
Based on the composition of seats. I think that the amount of progressive members who would really identify as progressive and even democratic socialists has increased in the last 20 years.
That's been stagnant. So I shouldn't have said 10 years, but that's been stagnant for, since 2018 in terms of membership for the Progressive Caucus. We had the split ticket data that we went over the last 4 election cycles where it showed that moderate candidates were outperforming their progressive counterparts.
Okay, so you're saying I don't look to opinion polls. I only look to the membership in the House of Representatives. What about Biden? I mean, Biden is more.
Hold on. I'm saying there's an incongruence because you're correct that there's a lot of people that express openness to more progressive policies, but we're not seeing that necessarily reflected in primary contests and general and elections to seats in Congress. There's something going on there.
Pisco argument shot clock.
No, I want you guys to jump into this conversation.
So I gave you one. I gave you one point of evidence to suggest that the progressive movement has more energy, and that is the overall shift of the population. You're like, that doesn't matter to me. I'm like, okay, that doesn't matter to you. That's what I was basing mine on. But I'll give you more. The presidential candidates have become more progressive. I think Joe Biden was much more progressive than Barack Obama over the years. I mean, compared to Clinton, it's no contest. And so over time, these progressive ideas have been gaining traction. People like Bernie. Whether it got him something or not isn't what we were discussing. You asked me, how do I think the progressive movement has more energy? And you're like, I don't believe that. And now you're asking what it got Biden. Wait, are you acknowledging you're shifting the question? It's not the same question.
No, it's not. I'm putting the emphasis on real, actual results. You make the point that, and you're correct. Biden did run to the left on a number of issues. He was surprisingly progressive in terms of.
And you say he's the most accomplished. You're saying he's accomplished.
But what does it say about the progressive movement that we had the most progressive president of my lifetime by far, and he lost? His numbers went down to 40 to 45 for the latter 3 years of his presidency.
But to be fair, those were due to exigencies that I think would have just crushed a more moderate president.
It would have crushed
post-COVID
Republicans.
Inflation. You had the withdrawal from Afghanistan.
No, but I'm talking about how progressives viewed Biden.
Okay, we can take a step back. We can take a step back. Yeah. The reason why I say that progressive movement has more energy is because the Democratic coalitions become more progressive, the presidents are becoming more progressive. I think the Congress become more progressive, at least in terms of their offered ideas. They're actually we're having votes for people who want socialized medicine, people who identify as wanting these progressive policies is increasing. That's my intuition and on who has more energy, and also in terms of the numbers, in terms of the content creators. If you just want one another thing, I think in terms of content creators, you have even among, for example, the institutional podcast, Pod Save America, etc. I think they would identify as progressive, and they're constantly arguing from that perspective. And so, in terms of the energy of the party, it's not with centrist Democrats. They're not the ones with the big platforms. They're not. Name one big centrist Democrat podcast or influencer.
Well, which one of you guys accused me of having a really online take a moment ago? This feels like a really online take, because the fact of the matter is,
citing polls. I just cited 6 things.
But it doesn't. It objectively doesn't matter.
And I understand it. This is a little hypey.
It objectively doesn't matter if, you know, like public opinions polls say that they favor this policy or that policy. It's about how many seats in Congress can you get. And the fact is that the progressives have stagnated since 2018. Like, so what is going on with the movement?
So the only thing that matters, so first of all, I haven't looked at the data you're saying. I'm taking power. So the only thing that matters is the makeup of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, no, and not just the House. There's state level politics. There's local politics, right?
So by that metric, you think that the centrists are the ones with the energy?
It's not that they have like all the energy, but they have more electoral success, Pisco. Like we know this. Like this has been demonstrated over the last 4 election cycles.
Are we talking about who has more success in elections or where the energy is?
No,
okay, so what do you take to be where the energy is?
Well,
we just maybe have different notions.
Why when you say that this is where the energy is, that's where my mind goes. Like you're saying the party is moving in this direction, but it's just not.
I think what Pisco is saying is what is getting people excited? Where is this like cohesive message? It is not who's winning more elections, because that's obviously not progressive. Progressives are a vast minority, and while there are
who cares about getting people?
No, I know. I'm just saying. I think Pisco is positing that you can capitalize in the same way we go off about the endorsement and all this. Is like, look, a lot of people are excited about this, and whether or not that's an online vibe-based thing, there needs to be some sort of cohesive message. This is just tying it full circle that these like people who are elected are not having, and only recently, like our Hakeem Jeffries and a Chuck Schumer kind of being like, hey, look, we're fighting back. We have a cohesive message. We're, you know, pro trying to get healthcare for everyone. And that's the energy that needs to happen. That is kind of always been present in the progressive movement, even if they don't win more seats.
So I want to give the final word to somebody who will give the final word on this, because we're a bit over time.
I'm upset. No worries.
We will. Let me put this. Go ahead.
Let me just say this one thing, and I'll close out. I'll make it quick. Okay, so like, I have serious concerns about the progressive movement in this country right now. I don't think that they've had the kind of electoral success that they would need to actually like move into the leadership position of the party. And a big problem that I see with progressive candidates is that, you know, like when Kamala lost, we spent months unpacking like flaws in her campaign, flaws in the Democratic Party, flaws in Biden's presidency.
Nate Silver's still doing it.
Yeah, we still talk about it, to be honest with you. When progressive candidates lose races, I just don't see that. What I see is they blame AIPAC, billionaires, the donors, and the establishment. And I never see them talk about, like, to Soy Pill's point, you know, I never hear them talk about, like, why did Bernie do so poorly with black voters? They're a crucial part of the coalition. Like, I never seen a single, like major progressive ask that question. And it's the most important.
Watch my new video. It's coming out soon, Hutch, where I specifically address that question.
Oh, damn. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, that's the point I was making. So like, I feel like there's a big candidate problem right now, and there's kind of like a big problem with the movement. It's kind of stagnant, but yeah.
Well, listen, what I will tell you is, even though they're on opposite ends of the spectrum, one of the things I've been pleased so far is we're starting to see more fight from Democrats when it comes to Trump. I think Newsom is still on a roll. I thought that perhaps the Newsom press office thing would grow stale. It has not. The momentum is continuing. I don't know what the state of Proposition 50 is. I know
20 points, bro. It's like 20.
It's up by 20.
Yeah.
Solid.
Look how, did I show you, Josiah? I don't know if you're here, but look at this propaganda they're mailing me. They're so desperate. It looks like
Russian right now because
they're like, look, the gerrymandering. It's unconstitutional. It's evil.
Yeah.
My address isn't on this. It's not. Okay.
It is. It is. Clip it. Somebody clip it. I mean, and then again, we see, you know, AOC and Bernie doing their style. I love like the AOC Instagram lives and stuff like that. She went viral just in the past 24 hours talking about how with Stephen Miller, you know, the point is that you have to ridicule these people at the same time because Stephen Miller's just on one with the shit that he's talking about, the deploying of the National Guard. I guess I want to close with this. I am curious. It came up during my conversation with Crystal earlier, which is she had a debate with Sagar on their show earlier today. And Sagar was kind of projecting, you know, I think we're in a cycle, he said, of revenge. And she said, based on what? And he said, well, you know, if you're Democrats at this point, you're going to want to do everything that, you know, Trump is doing to Democrats. You know, you're going to want to withhold aid from red states, et cetera, and so forth. So, you know, to the Republicans, this is an existential crisis. And I'm curious, do you all think that the party, if we take PAC power in 2028, that we're going to go back in the Biden direction of trying, like, for comity and, you know, we're a president for all people and let's just try to move forward? Or do you think it's going to be a more punitive Democratic Party that's out looking for a scalp, like against Stephen Miller or members of the Trump administration. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I see a lot of people meme about like Nuremberg trials for some of the current admin. And like, I do think depending on which person's doing what, you could make an argument for there needs to be punitive measures. But the idea that Democrats are going to become some like equal and opposite pendulum force is insane. That's not going to happen. I mean, like, even with this redistricting thing, it's not even like a unilateral decision. It's like, hey, we're going to let the people vote on it, which isn't even what happened in Texas. So I don't think that you're going to see that happen from the Democrats. But at the same time, unfortunately, I think it doesn't matter, because if you look at what people say is divisive, they're like, well, Obama was divisive because he, said that Trayvon Martin looked like him. And so if the Democratic Party isn't going to go and do all this punitive stuff, but they're probably going to try to, be the party that brings people together, like Biden, like Obama, like these people did, I think the Republicans are going to freak out about it regardless. And it's going to be another pendulum swing in 8 years.
Yeah, I think actually Soy Pill hits an interesting point about the redistricting, because it's also temporary. It's only for 3 election cycles. And I think Democrats will be punitive moving forward in order to get rid of this MAGA cancer in our politics, but it'll be couched as temporary and only, not all encompassing, and they'll chew gum and walk at the same time. But there's always an appetite in the Democratic Party for bipartisanship, because that's how we want this country to be ultimately. And I think we've gone through a very toxic period here. I think it's a season in America's history, and it's not going to be like this forever. Trump could have a stroke tomorrow and be gone, and things start to change. So I think Democrats will always pursue bipartisanship no matter what happens.
Well, real quick before Hutch and Pisco respond, I'm just curious. I mean, specifically, do you think based, obviously we can't predict the future, we don't have a crystal ball, but do you expect that the Democratic frontrunner, the Democratic candidate in 2028 is somebody who will basically say, I'm going to prosecute Stephen Miller? There's going to be accountability for what the fuck happened in this administration? Or do you think that they're going to be like, nope, but we're done, we're tapping out, it's done, we're just going to move forward?
No, there'll be no let's come together pardoning of everyone. No, that they will pursue justice. And I think 3 years from now, there's going to be a lot crazier things that happen, that the appetite and the momentum will be there, and it'll be demanded by more than just the Democrats, but a lot of people, because corruption is about to step up to another level.
Hutch, Pisco, what do you think?
I will just say that there are some lines that I don't think should be crossed. So I'm never going to be in favor of political prosecutions. I'm never going to be in favor of abuse of power, that kind of stuff. But I don't think that you need to do those kinds of things to pursue justice. And I would look very disfavorably on any Democratic nominee or candidate or who wants to be the nominee saying something like, it's all kumbaya, shake our hands. We need to have justice. In order to have reconciliation, there needs to be justice and there needs to be truth. And so I think that any candidate, I'm concerned that they're going to pardon every single person in the administration on the way out if the Democrats win. Again, it's we'd have to win the election first. But in general, I think that there needs to be support among for the Democratic candidate for a commission on truth and on justice. Really, whether there's criminal punishment or not, there needs to be a congressional commission. And to the extent, I don't think that it would ever be practicable or that would ever pass the various states. Maybe Democrats shouldn't even run on it, but I would ethically and under my own values support a constitutional amendment to undo all of Trump's pardons, to undo presidential immunity, and specifically to go after all of the abuses of the administration, because it needs to happen. It needs to happen.
What do you think, Hutch?
I mean, I wouldn't say that we should not prosecute former members of the Trump administration, but I would hesitate that a presidential candidate should run on prosecuting people, and I really don't think that would be popular with a lot of voters. But I also want to say it really just depends. I feel like we've talked about this a lot when O'Connor Boy was on here. How much of Trump's energy should we match? I just want to say that if the next Dem president is this kind of punitive, I would be really disgusted. I would be disgusted if the next Dem president played politics with, emergency aid for, North Carolina if a hurricane hit and he was playing politics with the aid. I would be really fucking disgusted if that happened. I do not want to see that kind of energy match.
I don't think any of us I'm
not saying you guys said that. I just
no. Yeah, and what's interesting is in the debate with Sog, or Crystal even said there's no fucking way Democrats didn't do it under Biden. They never did it under Obama. That's one of those lines that I don't think a Democrat would ever cross.
But hypothetically, Hutch, if it was between the withholding FEMA aid Democrat and withholding FEMA aid Republican, and it's Trump, coolly support.
Here's the better question: like, if you could show me that running on
And there's
withholding
data.
aid,
There's data that the withholding Democrats, 90% of Democrats support withholding aid from North Carolina.
then
Hey, I live in North
I would be
Carolina,
massively
asshole.
out of step with the party.
Oh, so you would vote to
disgusting.
fuck me over then because I live in North Carolina. So
Yeah.
if
If it's for the good of the republic, it is what it is.
IRI's
you know?
like, yeah, fuck yeah, man.
Take one for
No,
the
no,
team,
no.
Josiah.
Not at all. Democrats will never punish the
Yeah.
voters. I think most Trump voters voted for him based off misinformation and lies and bullshit. So there's no world in which we punish the actual voters and the rank and file people. It's the leaders, the
I know we're wrapping
scumbags
up,
at the
but isn't
time.
Gavin Newsom literally doing that right now with these colleges? He says if you sign this loyalty pledge to Trump,
Yeah,
he
he's-
said, I'm not going to give you aid anymore, which is
Love
he's
that.
not using the aid as leverage until you are becoming these Trump loyalists. So,
Love
but they
that.
are doing it.
Love that. Totally. Do we all agree that that's fucking awesome?
Wait, to coerce schools and shit?
So
no, he's saying that
the schools
if-
are being coerced by the Trump admin. He's saying if you agree to this coercion, I'm not going to give you funding, which in my opinion, I don't know if I love. It is playing the same game, but like that is like we're at the FEMA level withholding aids kind of a level.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I think that these are victims of coercion. I think that they weren't brave, but in general they're victims. And I don't want to replace one corruption for another. Now, with that, because what you're saying is like if you were, if you acquiesced to the coercion, should we punish you again for acquiescing to it? I don't know about that, man. I think that may be a bit too far. If you're an active and malicious participant in furthering it, maybe I can see that.
Yes, I stand alone here. I'm happy about IRI. Hutch, what do you guys think about Newsom's policy?
I haven't read into it, so I just saw a headline, so I'm gonna withhold my comments for now.
I'm in the same boat.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey guys, this is awesome. Follow me on TikTok at Piscoliti, at Instagram at Piscoliti. I am fast approaching 500 TikTok followers.
Good for you. And
yeah,
I'll say this. Pisco waited to join TikTok until after he found out Rupert Murdoch would be in charge of the
Right.
algorithm. And he's like, fuck yeah.
I wanted
now
that
I'm on
boost.
it. Right there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody have anything exciting coming up? Soy Pill, any debates? Or events?
You said exciting and then debates. Those are two different things. So
Fair
I
enough.
have a debate coming out Wednesday. I believe we're talking about tough on crime stuff. Actually, probably we'll talk to you about that, Pisco, in terms of legislative solutions from the Democrats. But no, I have a new video coming out this week. I'm just waiting on an advertiser to approve the ad. Turns out they don't like it when you say you're going to mention Mein Kampf in the ad, even as a joke. So I had to rewrite it a little bit.
Wow. So you're censoring yourself for advertisements. So
I'm
you're
selling
already
out. I'm
part of
selling
the
out my
system, yeah.
creativity because the system demands
What if
it,
you
and I
just
need to pay
translate it
rent.
to English? What if you just say my struggle?
Maybe
Like
that
talking
would
about
be
your
okay.
struggle. Yeah, you might have.
We'll
you might have
we'll
skirted
see.
that.
I try to get around this. So sometimes restrictions lead to creativity, and we'll see what comes up. But yeah, a new video
one
coming
little
out this week.
Hitler reference, and people just lose their minds. It's like,
Yeah, but it's not that Hitler.
grow
not
up,
that
you know.
Hitler. IRI, what about you, buddy? Anything coming down the
I don't have
pipeline?
anything exciting coming up right now, but some things in the future. But I say come hang out with me on TikTok if you guys want to see me debate some MAGA and get a feel for where they're at. I'm suspended on my main right now for spreading misinformation, according to TikTok, for a week. But it happens
What's
a
that
lot. so
information?
Yeah, wait, what?
I
What is
have
it?
no clue. You get flagged a lot, especially if you get some eyes on you. So I've got a couple alts that I'm on. You can always follow my Twitch and my YouTube, and you don't have to worry about what account I'm on. But
Aren't
it
they all
happens.
like
It happens.
I'm really important. I'm very important. I'm extremely important. I'm
It's-
the most important.
Pretty much, yeah. It's
Yeah.
I'm really important, and it's I'm really really important, and it's I'm really very important. So
Gotcha.
And I endorse. I've been watching his TikTok debates while I drive home sometimes on my hour-long drive, and they're very entertaining. So
Does he
endorse.
make any like MAGA people cry like he did that one woman went viral?
I haven't seen
for it?
anyone cry yet, other than the clip you showed a while ago. But I
Fucking-
I
maybe
stunned them a
he's
lot.
toned it down, or all the criers left. They ran away.
yeah, I stun them a lot. Like they really come up confident and walk away with their tail between their legs quite often. It's interesting.
Do we agree that our boy Mockler's killing it?
He's doing a good job.
He's doing.
He's doing
Should
a
he
good
have
job.
used the R word? What do you guys think?
He should have used it
I
more.
don't really care.
Yeah, he texted me. He's like, "Dude, should I have done that?" And I'm like, "Who gives a fuck?" Like, I mean, all the shit that they say. Like, at this point,
Just
like,
apologize
yeah.
if you ever if there's ever like someone who's sympathetic and you're running for office, Mock. You can just be like, I shouldn't have used that word.
Do
I
not
don't-
But you have to
I don't
understand
think Adam's-
it was.
I don't think
it was
Adam's running for
it was a
office.
tactical R word, and I I dropped the big one. Josiah, anything from you?
No, nope.
Did
the
you
same
just
old
talk to
grind.
Crystal Ball today and a new video coming out, and you're not going to mention that?
I did mention it. So the conversation went a lot longer than I expected. I'm probably gonna have to split it up, like I did the one with Kyle. I recently talked to Jessica Tarlov. I was really happy about that. I interviewed Adam. I don't know. I'm trying to I'm always, my cup runneth over. So I'm always trying to figure out, okay, I want to start doing interviews on this day. I want to have some more structure here, because it's just one of those things that like somebody will say or do something like, fuck, I really want to talk to that person about that specific thing. And so like, there've been a couple of days where it's been like 3 interviews, and that's just really not sustainable, especially with my like particular formula. So I don't know.
So just to be clear, your position was, I have nothing exciting coming out because I just have too many projects. All right, there's just too many Josiah Pondering Politics videos, and I don't think you want to watch any of the cool 10 things I'm putting.
I have unfortunately a lack of structure, and I'm trying to get better about that. Like talking to Adam, like I'm so impressed with him and Luke and Jack as far as like their ambition, because Adam, he's doing Midas Touch. He is now starting his own thing called Mockler Media. He hired Micah Irfan as a policy advisor and stuff like that. And so like he's doing his own thing. He's on CNN now. Like he's making all the hits. He did that fucking thing with Michael Knowles. And so like he is just hungry for shit in a way, which I don't know. It must be age. I still think I'm relatively young, but it's like, God, I'm tired.
No, he's just a really impressive young man. Like really impressive. He's 22 years old. It's pretty crazy. He's just really sharp, like very charismatic. I think he's like plays well on camera. He's just got a lot. He's got a lot going for him.
He does. And like Luke recently went to Ukraine for 10 days. He was near combat zones and shit, like kind of like what Dylan Burns does, and he was embedded with a unit and like shit like that. Like they've got this ambition to keep like memberships, and we're gonna start this second channel. We're gonna do and I'm just like, fuck. I feel like I work a shit ton already, and then I just want to hang out with my wife and dog and friends and stuff like that. So I live vicariously through them, but I wish I had more of that. I wish I had more of that like appetite for shit. And so,
well,
Hutch, go shout yourself out, Hutch.
Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. East Coast is going to be that House Oversight Committee hearing on the with the CEOs of Twitch, and it's just going to be so fucking insane. So we're going to be watching that all day, and then apart from that, it's just like Sunday through Friday, starting at 8:30 a.m. normally and going till like 2 or something like that.
Hutch, if you wouldn't, you don't have to say yes. This is almost like proposing the equivalent in Twitch streaming, but I'd be interested in tuning into that with you, because you are much more tuned in with Twitch politics, and I'd love to watch that.
Like a date,
yeah. If you're not interested in that, you're allowed to say no. I'm just
come on over. Let's do it.
Sounds good.
Let's make it a thing.
He's now kicking you out of the server right now. He's kicking you out of the server. He's like, mods, kick him out. IRI, before we go to Hutch or before we go to Pisco, you were starting to say something, IRI.
Oh, God. I just want to say, I think all of us have interacted with Adam personally, I believe. And he's such a sweetheart. He's such he's
nice guy.
Very business oriented, but he's a super nice guy. And I couldn't be happier that he's blowing up, because it's not always the greatest people that do well in this industry, and so it's wonderful to have them.
Apparently that
hearing's postponed. Yeah.
Damn. Fuck. Sorry.
Oh no, the date's canceled. I guess we won't have to make
do other things. Hutch, do you want to get dinner or something?
Yeah.
Soy Pill's like, can we just still like hang or whatever? Like, is that cool? Yeah. Pisco, what about you, buddy?
Oh, just follow me on TikTok. Oh, there's maybe something cool coming up. These Republicans don't want to debate. I'm reaching out to folks. I recently had a discussion with PF Jung as well about fascism, and you can see that nonsense.
How did that go? I have some opinions on that boy.
Yeah, so they like really don't want to define these words like fascism, insurrection, any of these labels, because they don't want to hold themselves to a standard. They just want to say like, it's not okay to call someone a fascist, or they say something like fascist is overused, or it's being used too loosely. But the thing is, like, in order to say that, to make that claim, you would have to have some kind of standard by which you're measuring a word to be used loosely or not. So it's just a bunch of garbage.
He did a big Nick Fuentes defense arc, which was very,
nice.
very cringe. And I think, we're talking about R words. I called him profoundly retarded, and I have since cut ties. I don't think he's I don't think he's got the sauce. So
I'd grab a beer with him, but I unfollowed him from Twitter like 8 months ago.
Why?
The both sides shit just really got on my fucking nerves. I just couldn't do it anymore. It's just like I can't. My threshold for that shit is just so weak. I didn't block him or anything. I was just like, I can't see your shit in my feed because it triggers me. But nice guy, and would absolutely.
You
grab
can
a beer
mute
with
people.
him.
You can just mute.
Sorry,
you can just
mute people. You'll never see them again.
I might need to learn about that. Okay.
Yeah, you got to learn about that. So just follow me. It's your civic duty to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. It's @Piscoletti. But thank you so much, guys. And we'll be back.
You don't. Well, then what's the cool thing? You're just gonna fucking.
I can't. No, I have to hint
do
at it
this
because it's not
every
confirmed
time.
yet.
You were
It's
like
not confirmed yet.
You were like under.
It's not confirmed yet. Wait, don't talk about it. I do it every time.
He's going to go on Jubilee, and he's going to yell at. Hold on, who's a dumb conservative?
It's going to be called. It's going to be called.
It's going to be like PBD, Piers Morgan, one of these idiot, and he's going to go yell at these people.
It's going to be surrounded.
Surrounded.
It's surrounded, but the thing is, they're surrounded. It's going to be just Pisco running around like all of them are in the center. He's going to be running around shouting, "Yes or no? What's your favorite color? Yes or no? Yes or no?"
I'm gonna try to start a show with Jillian Michaels because I hear she's in
Did you all see that shit?
show.
Did you all see
Yeah.
her like fucking rage quit her take? Dude, fuck that. She's awful.
She didn't rage quit Eric Andre. That's what's wild.
Eric Andre had her on.
He was on the Eric Andre show getting LSD flashbacks, and she didn't walk off. But Anna Kasparian brings up Israel on too many times.
All right, would you go on her take?
I've never seen it, to be honest, but I would go on almost any show, really, unless Andrew Wilson or Nick Fuentes are there. I don't want anything to do with those guys.
What about Rob Knorr? Is he on your shit list too?
Oh, God. He's on my shit list, too. Yeah, he's just annoying. I just think he mistreated Pisco. Like, Pisco has talked to him for hours and hours and hours, and then he'll say at the end, you're bad faith, and you're... He does. You'll be so kind to him for hours, and then he'll call you bad faith at the end and insult you. It's like,
and he called me a liar just because I faked a tweet to get him to admit.
Just because you lied? He called me a liar because I lied.
That was still. I will never forget that. I remember when somebody sent me that. That's one of the best.
I want to debate the magician that Destiny debated in LA. That guy with the velvet jacket. What's his name? Gibbs something?
Oh, Admiral Gibbs. I have his contact.
Admiral
Gibbs. That guy
Gibbs.
seems like a
Gibbs is a nice guy. Gibbs is somebody else.
You're picking your opponents wisely.
He's a good faith, but he's also like, I don't care if 17 million people get kicked off Social Security and die. So it's this weird combination of like, well, at least I can trust that you're telling me the truth, but also, holy shit, dude.
Well, listen, he's also impeccably well dressed. Like if you're talking about like the crushed red
pull a dove
velvet.
out of his sleeves.
I mean,
It's like a magician.
He had more drip than a leaky faucet. Like he was just, it was impressive.
True.
But yeah,
Guys, are you guys just real quick? Are you guys on Threads? Because apparently Threads has caught up to Twitter. Like
I'm starting to post on Threads actually.
I've made a Threads today.
So should people follow you on Threads?
Follow me on Threads
and the
at
soy pill on
Piscoletti.
Threads.
That's
Wait,
crazy.
what's soy pill? What's yours? I'll
The
follow
soy
you.
pill on Threads.
The soy pill on Threads. You can follow me on Threads at Piscoletti.
Apparently they have the same, like literally the same amount of daily active users. Threads. That's crazy. It's above
And they're
100
not
million.
bots.
But is it automatically cross-posted from Instagram? Because
No,
that
it's
might
not
have something to do
necessarily.
with
It can be, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, folks, listen, this was a lot of fun. Glad to be back. Appreciate it. Please like and subscribe and follow everybody, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Stay cool.